flowing through our veins. Sitting in the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old style beers out at the game. Let's go, Cubby, Son Ranto, Son Ranto, Son Ranto and the lovable losers. Son Ranto, Son Ranto, Son Ranto and the lovable losers. Son Ranto.
He's the John Vincent of Cubs podcast callers. Hi, welcome to the Son Ranto Show, brought to you by the Bleacher Bunch Productions on the Fans First Network, with great shows like Sarah Sanchez's Cup of Cubby Blue. She's here tonight, fill it in for IFG. She can't be here tonight, unfortunately, but Sarah's here, so we can be happy about that. Also, Baseball Rabbit Hole. That's on the Fans First Network and Bleacher Bunch Productions. That's done by Cubes fan Michael Cotton. He's here on our 10-year anniversary.
10 years, baby.
Yeah, well, a little more than 10 years.
I was going to say a couple days more. But yeah, Javi Baez broke into the major leagues 10 years and about 3 days ago. And Danny was out in Colorado, and Artie Boucher was there, and the three of us got to hang out and watch Javi go 0 for 4 until the 10th inning, when he hit the game-winning home run.
Yeah, and that solidified this show for the next decade.
Yep.
And also, this show is brought to you by the Cubs PS Plus podcasts and Mike Waller. He can't be here because he's on his way to Chicago as we speak, because he'll be at the Blue Jays game tomorrow with me and a lot of other fine folks, including Corey Furlong. He just invited me tomorrow, too. So, Michael Cotton, you were going to come in for this series, right? But you're not.
No.
Yeah.
Was I going to come for this one?
At some point a long time ago, we were like, hey, everybody's coming, and, you know.
See, I think I'm always up for coming. I can come into this game. I would totally be down. But see, Corey asks you. He gives you tickets. I don't get tickets.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
does he
somebody gives
number?
me tickets. I'll drive 3.5 hours on Saturday.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. Maybe I can maybe I can sweeten the deal for you.
I would not feel bad about trying that out at all.
So just to get some of this kind of nitty gritty stuff out of the way, this show is brought to you by our 109 Patreon supporters. Find out more at patreon.com/sonranto, how you can send us to Japan. Please, everybody, up your Patreon subscriptions. I will spend the money on IFG at least going to Japan. She's first on the list. I think me and Michael are a distant second and third, somewhere in there. But I really want to send IFG. She's simply closer. It's logical to me. You know, if we could send anybody, it's going to be her.
Her tickets aren't as expensive, and I think she knows some people there, so she wouldn't have to spend as much on hotels and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I only know Tatsuya, and he hates me because last time I saw him, I gave him a lort. So it's brought to you by our Patreon supporters. And if you see these little QR codes down here, there's a PayPal, sonranto@gmail, and a Venmo at Danny-Rocket with 2 T's. If you click on those and you give us a little bit of money tonight, it's all going in the Japan fund. Thank you, Kenneth Wu, who sent us $50 a couple weeks ago. So that gets us, I don't know, 5% on the way there. Thanks, Kenneth.
Yeah, 5% of one ticket in the bucket. So we are well on our way.
And of course, this is brought to you by our super duper ranters, Blake Beard and his marvelous tickets, and Rogue Wave Creative, and also Mike Waller and the Cubs PS Plus podcast on his way here. And our Patreon Prize of the Month sponsors, Matt Kemmer's Permanent Paintings and In the Clutch shirts. And Michael's wearing his Brown's Twirling Hand shirt.
I am. You know, unfortunately, we don't really get to talk about Brown very much anymore. Ben Brown with his left neck injury.
Yeah.
Just gone. It's so frustrating, man. We were having so much fun with that earlier this season.
Well, hashtag Chance in the chat if you're nasty, and you can win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. But Sarah Sanchez, you're here. Are you drinking anything fabulous right now? What do you got in your palms?
Got like some Prosecco, like some sparkling white wine. It's pretty good. I am here. I would like to propose a toast to Jed Hoyer for assembling such a mediocre team and going over the luxury tax all in one go. Cheers to you, Jed.
Oh, yeah, that news
job
dropped.
Like you.
That news dropped today. We could start right there. In fact, so cheers to mediocrity, I guess.
Cheers to the Cubs finally going over the luxury tax. The things we've been wanting all season.
In this economy.
I mean, it's easy to do. I go over the luxury tax every time I go to the grocery store these days. But yeah, let's start there. Hoyer went over the tax. This is Locked On Cubs tweeted this out. It was on 670 The Score today. I was driving around. I happened to catch a little bit of it, but I usually turn it off when Jed Hoyer talks because he's just going to bullshit me and piss me off. So I value my mental health, so I don't listen to him. Jed Hoyer just said at 670 Score that it is likely the Cubs will be over the luxury tax this season, mostly due to the Bellinger contract. I guess that's incentives or something that made him go over. But Hoyer added that they haven't decided if they'll go over the luxury tax in 2025.
Oh my God, this is the most insane thing. Like, and here's the thing: most of us have known they're over the luxury tax. We've known this for months. It's just that they haven't admitted it, and they've just played this game so that now they're over the luxury tax by like, I don't know, $12, and that's the same as going over the first level of the luxury tax by like $50,000 or $50 million. Millions, not thousands.
It's millions.
I know, thousands. I'm out here in my proletariat thousands.
Yes. And like, let's talk about the fact that if it's the Bellinger contract that pushed you over, this happened a long time ago. This isn't like somebody made a rounding error when they traded Christopher Morel and Hunter Biggie for Isaac Paredes. This is like, you knew as we were just saying, like, we all knew. Michael Cotton just said, like, we knew. We were all like, we think you're over the luxury tax. If you're going to go over the luxury tax, go over the luxury tax. Go get yourself some first tier starters. Go get yourself a third. Like, Matt Chapman was available for like most of the offseason. All you had to do was spend a little bit of money. That's it. Your third base woes or whatever are solved. They're not even good at being cheap. They're not good. They're expensive, and they're not good at it. And I can't. And I am already hearing people be like, oh yeah, well, Hoyer's going to get at least one more year. And I'm like, why? What are we doing? Why? Why does Jed Hoyer get to fail up for like 7 years in a row?
Yeah. I mean, I think he gets the next year just because it's on his contract, and Ricketts doesn't want to go hire anybody, right? Like, he's
paying Ross, and Ross is sitting on his butt. Well, Council does the same crap that Ross did last year. So.
Yeah.
With a better roster.
If you don't have good pitchers to bring into games late and you don't have guys who can hit, you don't win baseball games.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do blame Council less than I blamed just the assembly of players that show up in Cubs uniforms with the big Motorola patch now on the side. I mean, it's really sad to me that the only thing that the Cubs added at the trade deadline was that Motorola patch. Like, meanwhile, they're over the trade deadline, or they're over the luxury tax, and you're like, well, if you were over, you could have just spent whatever, a couple $1 million, make the fans make it at least look like you're trying. Maybe win a few more ball games and climb back into this, like the San Francisco Giants with Matt Chapman having a pretty good year. You know, like, if you really cared that much, you could have done that in the offseason, but you're like, I got to stay under. They didn't.
Okay, so I've heard this 2 times now, Matt Chapman. Can we just stop talking about Matt Chapman? I never wanted Matt Chapman. I wanted Morel to fucking play the thing. So, well, but like, I don't know. I feel weird saying, like, maybe they should have gone for Matt Chapman. I don't think that, because I didn't think that then, and I'm not going to fucking change my mind now. They needed pitching, and they didn't go get pitching. Like, they needed to know what they have, but I think this is Jed's major failure. And Sarah, maybe you can, talk about this a little bit too, is like, I have been saying for the last year and a half, I don't think Jed can evaluate his own players. I think he can bring people up. Other people seem to like the players that he has, but he doesn't know what to do with them. And I don't think the Cubs have a plan. Thus, we go over the luxury tax, buy a 6-pack of beer, and that's the issue, right? Like, there was no plan. If there had been a plan, they wouldn't have done that. So I don't know. But Sarah, I don't know. I don't get to hear you talk much about Jed necessarily, like, directly. And I don't know. Another voice. What are you thinking about how Jed has been running this team and the world's greatest farm system that got downgraded 12 times last week or something?
Well, first of all, why is Jed Hoyer in charge of the Chicago Cubs? Like, he's never won anything on his own. And we've just had to watch this bumbling incompetence for years now, which is unbelievable. Like, it's just unbelievable to witness from afar. And it started almost the moment he took over for Theo. And if y'all remember, like, Theo walked away from the last year of his contract rather than do some of the things that people were thinking might need to be done in order to, I don't know, assuage biblical losses or some bullshit. Like, the team is fine, by the way. Like, they fill that ballpark on a nightly basis. They sell you a $30 beer bat and God knows what else. Totally packed house, mediocre baseball, absolutely uninspired baseball being played at the corner of Clark and Addison.
Oh, boring.
And it started they were like, we don't really need you, Darvish. Who needs an ace? Like, we don't need you, Darvish. We'll throw in Victor Caratini, who, by the way, would be the starting catcher on the Chicago Cubs right now and cost controlled. But he was a throw-in for this Yu Darvish trade for Zach Davies and a bunch of teenagers who've never sniffed the major leagues. And I get that people are kind of jazzed about Owen Casey, but, like, I don't know, man. As far as I can tell, Owen Casey is not as good as Ian Happ, which is why Ian Happ is in left field and Owen Casey is in Iowa. So that's where we're at with the big return from Yu Darvish. And before I turn it back over to Cotton for just the Kyle Schwarber non-tender.
Where does Owen Casey play? But then you answered it. So
yeah, the Kyle Schwarber non-tender is one of the most boneheaded moves in the history of baseball. It's up there with the David Ortiz non-tender by the Minnesota Twins. And one thing that I think will be on that list later is trading Christopher Morel and Hunter Biggie for Isaac Paredes, which is absolutely, it's just like a mind-boggling trade. It's just like on multiple levels, like what Isaac does and what Morel could do and what Biggie could do. And you're trading with the Rays and they're better at this than you. And like, just all of it is totally bonkers. And the thing that blows my mind is that we're in year like 5 of this, and we're supposed to just be like, yeah, he gets another year because I don't know, we got to see how this plays out. Do we really? It plays out as a 78-win team if you're really lucky. And Craig Counsell looks like he just wants to, like, I don't even know, man. He looks at this collection of players and just like shrug emoji in the dugout. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to throw some guys out there and see what happens.
Well, I want to, in fact, because you're already like, you're warmed up now. I say we pull up the wheel of grievances and we got to do ourselves at least a 30 bitch clock. Because, I was looking at, just kind of how I feel about this week. They beat the White Sox barely, and they're the historically worst team of all time. And then you've got a sweep by Cleveland, just looking bad against a good team, almost came back and won a game. Like, Cotton, you had that Cubs pod on Monday, and you were like, this was a different kind of game. We still lost it, but it was a different kind of game than we saw. Like, we haven't seen them come back in games, even if they fell short. Still a different kind of game. But let's take a look at some of these wheel of grievances categories here, because this all came from the ranters. A little bit of Twitter. We've got over the luxury tax, which we just talked about a little bit. The Bush platoon is annoying people. That Bush not getting his at bats against lefties, 1-run games in general, intelligent spending, which I think we could put in quotes, the bullpen, which actually has been much better. So maybe bullpen management we could change it to, because maybe there's been some issues there. Wizdrigal Boney, I think that's just in reference to any of those guys ever playing a game in a Cubs uniform. Jed's employment, which we touched on, Counsell being lifeless, Counsell being Captain Obvious in his press conferences. That is true. He's like, well, they scored more runs. Guess we got to score more if we want to win. You're like, really?
I love Craig Counsell so much, man.
Missing David Ross. Bad send Willie. Multi-inning Merriweather. That's kind of the bullpen management situation there. He's coming back from injury too. And then Morel for Paredes. So why don't we give this sucker a spin? And Sarah, if you'd like to take a turn at the 30-second B clock here. Ooh, what are we going to get? Oh, it's there. Morel for Paredes.
Oh, this is in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it really is in your wheelhouse. I'm going to put you in the grievance seat and get this going on the right. Here we go. Are you ready, Sarah?
Yeah, I'm good.
Here we go.
Pitch clock. You have 30 seconds to pitch.
I understand that Isaac Paredes was a literal all-star because Tampa Bay had to have one, and that he is a better player than Christopher Morel today at this moment on August 15th. And also, the upside versus downside versus one neat trick thing going on here is just so infuriating. What Isaac Paredes does is pull fly balls down the line. He's going to lose a bunch of home runs at Wrigley. He is not a good defender. Christopher Morel is a 35-plus home run bat. You never make that deal with the Rays, and they threw in Hunter Biggie.
Stop your pitch.
Oh, they did. Yeah. The Hunter Biggie thing makes no sense. I sang the anthem in South Bend, which we'll get to in the little second act here.
He throws 100.
And I was talking to Max Toma, who is one of the broadcasters for the South Bend Cubs. And they were so excited when Biggie came up because, they saw his whole development and this whole time. And these minor league guys, they keep up in all the minor league guys. They were like, I was like, yeah, it really sucks Morel, but you got his brother because I watched his brother play the other night. And they were talking about him and stuff like that. He's like, the one that hurts me, because Morel's brother was really upset that his brother got traded, is what I found out.
Yeah.
From Max. And then Max also said, but the one that's hurting us is Hunter Biggie. They're like, that dude is golden. What an amazing guy. What an incredible talent. They were excited to see him make his debut. When he did, we were like, ooh, he throws 100. And then they're like, we don't need that. Don't worry about it.
They're like allergic to having more than one guy who throws 100 at the same time. They're like, I don't know. We just got this other kid. He throws 100. So this one's expendable. I'm like, what? Do you understand how bullpens work in the year of our Lord 2024?
Yeah.
They don't, which is part of how we're here. But anyway, go ahead.
I was rolling through the Twitter trying to find TFCs and stuff, and I'm looking up like Paredes and whatever. And that's the Biggie thing is the thing that all these arguments, Paredes, Morel, Paredes, everybody, blah, 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 blah. And then one dude always jumps in and is like, we got rid of Biggie too. And it's like, have all the arguments you want about Morel and Paredes, but there's also Biggie. And that's the most egregious, that's the Caratini with Darvish of this deal. There was no need to add that. Like, there was nothing. I don't even understand. If that was the sticking point, they should have just held on to Morel.
Is this them buying in a Candelario way in their brains? Because none of us buy that is considered buying. I mean, the amount of defense, which we haven't even seen yet, that maybe you get better at.
4 errors so far. 4 errors in his first 11 games. In Morel, it took Morel 33 games to get 4 errors to end his time with the Cubs, and I believe 2 of those came in on one play.
Yeah, and now Morel's not actually doing very well down in Tampa yet either, but the jury's out on both of these guys really for both teams. But it's like, oh my God, it was an unnecessary move. And it just doesn't make you that much better. It just blocks you at a position that you were really thinking you might improve greatly.
Well, this is the thing. So Jed Hoyer loves nothing more than incremental gains. Like I imagine him as the dude in the meeting who is sitting there and like it's like, hey, we could do this thing. It would be really cool. It would be super big. We could like increase our blah blah by 110%. It would be incredible. And Jed Hoyer's like, what can I get for 92%? You know, he is like the buzzkill of the great idea because he's like, maybe I can shave a margin off your margin and like it'll be kind of good enough, which is how you wind up with a team where it's like, could have had Trey Turner, could have gone after Corey Seager. You went after Dansby Swanson.
Let's go all the way back to Bryce Harper, which it wasn't him, but he was.
Dude, Bryce Harper on this team. This team is fundamentally Bryce Harper on this team, and Kyle Schwarber instead of Ian Happ is like a game-changing scenario. But they couldn't do it because they couldn't develop Kyle Schwarber's bat, which is why they are going to have the exact same problem with Christopher Morel being in Tampa Bay. Like, and I know he struggled a little bit out of the gate, and I'm really not worried about it. The hit tool is pretty legit. I think this is a huge indictment of the Cubs hitting system and hitting development. Like, they have a pitch lab. Where's the hit lab? Because these guys can't hit. They can't hit situationally. They don't hit the ball hard enough to get it out of the ballpark. They don't make the right type of contact. They do the thing you want them to and decrease their strikeouts and increase their walks and get worse. Like some weirdness is going on with the Cubs hitting development. And right now I just wonder how many guys are not tapping their potential because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is this going to happen with like Owen Casey? Owen Casey's going to come up and then all of a sudden we're going to see him just be Christopher Morel part 2 and, you know, strike out a bunch and then they'll make him walk and then they'll be like, we don't know what to do. And they trade him off for some mediocre position player.
Well, the whole Isaac Paredes Canario thing, right? That was the trade for Avila and Wilson, right? Am I getting these correct?
That's correct.
So Avila and Wilson to Detroit. And then it was a long time ago. But this is what I was saying earlier. Jed doesn't know what he has. He has no clue how to actually evaluate the players he has. And so he gets rid of these guys. They get developed somewhere else. And then he brings them back in with another team's development. And the people he's trying to bring himself, they don't develop.
I want to jump in on this because a friend of the show, friend of all of ours, Ken Schultz, and I were having this conversation recently. And he pointed out something that I think is totally correct. And I don't know if it's like, I don't remember exactly how he said it. So I'm going to paraphrase, and Ken, I apologize if I paraphrase this wrong. Jed just goes back and tries to undo Theo's things that he didn't like. Jed's just out there like, Theo traded Jamer Candelario. I'll show him like Theo traded Zach Paredes. Undo that, right? Like, that Theo guy. And I imagine, I don't think that's 100% true, but I do think that there is some element of like, Jed was the guy in the room who was like, I don't know if we should do that. And he just took a little bit of glee, right? Like a little bit of glee. And I mean, we all remember the Javi Baez for JT Realmuto deal rumors that were going around the world when JT Realmuto was on the market. And like, that's the type of thing out there that's like, I turned Javi Baez into Pete Crow Armstrong. You know who will never get traded for less than market value? Pete Crow Armstrong, because Jed Hoyer's ego is invested in that kid. He traded a Chicago fan favorite who all of us are going to show up at Wrigley Field to support this week when the Tigers are in town, chanting Javi because we love him and we will always love him. And meanwhile, Jed Hoyer's like, but PCA. Right? Like, it's like, whatever, Jed. Like, you do you. Go hang out with your spreadsheet.
Javi will probably murder the Cubs this weekend. Like, yes, everybody talks about, you know, whatever. He's dropped off. He's not worth the money. There's all the complaints and everything. I think there's a lot more to it than just that was inevitable. I don't think it was inevitable. I think it has to do with the situation he's in. But without getting into that, he's going to come back. And, I could totally see him become that Cub killer. I mean, look what he did in on the South Side, just down there when they were giving him shit just for being a Cub at one time, and he murdered them. You know, like he's gonna have a day, I think, and go for it. Like it still drives me insane, and people think I'm crazy for this, but I would have always kept Javi. And Anybody who thinks, oh, well, because everybody can only see one thing. Well, he'd be, shortstop. He's not good. Well, no, there was a lot of talk about Javi moving to third base. And guess what we don't have is a third baseman, right? Like the things that they got rid of, first base, third base, Rizzo,
Catcher.
Bryant, catchers.
Catcher.
They have never replaced any of those. And you said earlier, Victor Caratini, we honestly all thought he was the leverage with Contreras, right? Because when Contreras did hit free agency and decide to go, you actually had Caratini behind him. So they could get a good deal, if Contreras wanted to stay. But if he left, they had a very good backup, right? Maybe not Contreras, but better than anything that we've had since.
Yeah, that's for sure. And Miguel Amaya is just kind of putting it together a little bit, but it's, he's not throwing runners out. He hasn't been a great pitch framer, which is what they are prized so much or whatever. And now he doesn't really do a good job. He can't hit like Contreras did. It's like, what are we doing here?
There was a piece in The Athletic earlier this week about how the Cubs' number one offseason priority is an upgraded catcher. And it was all I could do to not laugh out loud at reading this piece, which does not mention Wilson Contreras at all. And I don't understand how you write that piece without mentioning Wilson Contreras by name, but fine, whatever. I guess it doesn't mention Yan Gomes either. So that just goes to show you how some people view that situation. But
how about Tucker Barnhart? Does it mention?
They've got this whole anecdote in this story about how one of the players, the Jed, was targeting at the trade deadline was Logan O'Hoppe from Anaheim, and Anaheim is like I don't know how to say this kindly, and it's late, so I'm probably just not going to say it kindly. I'm just going to say it. Anaheim is not exactly a savvy, amazing baseball operation, but they know you don't trade an above average hitting catcher to anyone for anything, period, the end, because that is worth its weight in gold. And Jed Hoyer just didn't understand that as he was evaluating a catcher who hits at the level of a designated hitter in JD Martinez. And it's just mind boggling to me that you can be the president of baseball operations for the literal Chicago Cubs and not understand how rare that is, and that and the arm is good, right? So all the new rules about runners and stuff are going to be benefited by the fact that this there's a slight negative in framing or whatever. It's truly an incompetent decision. It's not just because he's my favorite player. It's an actually incompetent way to evaluate talent and the market.
And but look. In Jed's defense, do you know how far over the luxury tax they would be just in iPads alone if Wilson Contreras was still on this team?
Maybe put a deal on Apple Care at this point. Well, speaking
they would have the highest Apple Care premiums on the planet.
Yeah, they're like, sir, we can't sell Apple Care.
How petty do you have to be to leak that 2 years after the dude is gone, by the way, you petty asshole?
Yeah, because we're still cheering him, and it drives him nuts. I do want to, speaking of getting into fights and stuff, we have to talk a little bit about the shit show that was those 2 games on the South Side. Cubs Sox, they ended a game 7-6 again, where the White Sox came back and almost beat us. It was
3 straight games, 7-6.
Yeah, and we almost lost 3 times, obviously, because it was 7-6.
I need somebody in Elias Sports Bureau or whoever does all this shit that they find all these insane stats. I want to know if anyone has ever beaten or lost for the White Sox side 7 by the exact same score for 3 straight games.
Okay, wait. Can I just pivot off the words White Sox and lost there for a second? I've never seen anything like the atrocity that is the Chicago White Sox this year on a Major League Baseball field, ever. It's unbelievable. Every time I watch them, they do something. I'm like, no, that can't happen on a baseball field. You can't. Those are not things that can happen. I've watched them blow lead after lead. I saw the Red Sox come back against them earlier this year. Just crazy stuff going on at White Sox Park. And my question for y'all is, would you rather be a White Sox fan that knows your team is supposed to be bad, and your team is bad, and it's like historically bad, and so that's kind of interesting.
That's kind of
to
fun,
be historically bad.
I'd show
Or
up for
the
that, yeah.
Cubs, who thought they would be good and apparently exceeded the luxury tax on the hopes and dreams of this crew that is gonna win like 79 games if they're lucky.
Yeah. Danny, you want to start?
The problem is, at least when the Cubs were bad and they lost over 100 games, there was like this idea that they were going to rebuild and get the draft picks. Because that at the time was the way to do that. You know, you're going to get the first round pick. We were right behind the Astros, and then we were right behind them in the World Series too. And so that was the plan. They told us what was going to happen. They were going to redo the ballpark. The White Sox do not have that going on. They're just going to be bad for the foreseeable future until like the owner decides, until they get enough players that maybe like the Pirates with enough, and the draft picks aren't there anymore because they've got the anti-tanking measures in place. So they might still,
yeah, they can't draft pick. any earlier than like 11, right?
You can't, because you can't do it 2 years in a row. So, yeah, it's a shit show. I'd definitely rather be a Cubs fan just because I live closer to the ballpark, but and it's a better ballpark. And you know, I mean, there's only so many elotes you can eat to make it worthwhile.
Those are good, though.
Yeah. Okay. So I honestly, like, to your question, Sarah, it would be more fun to be a White Sox fan right now, and this is why. White Sox fans are united in their hatred of Jerry Reinsdorf and most everybody in the front office and the management and everything, right? And it is clear everybody's on board. They suck. You can bond in that. The Cubs fan base, unfortunately, we are divided because there are still people out there who believe that Jed Hoyer knows what the fuck he's doing. Like, he has no goddamn clue. He keeps fucking up. He keeps making the wrong choices. And even when he gets something good, he fucks that up too. Like, he just doesn't, he cannot do anything. And so for us that watch all the time, like, we see it. And we're just like, why? This is the worst thing ever. But then all those people who just sort of, you know, they catch, you know, a game a week, if that, they still think that like Jed Hoyer is going to bring them something. They will still argue that getting rid of Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo was the very correct thing to do. And he's brilliant. But they will not talk about Yu Darvish or Caratini or Kyle Schwarber, even though it's 3-3.
Well, show me the proof. They haven't had a winning season. You know, I mean, last year, I guess, was technically a winning season, but it wasn't good enough. You know, obviously, like, if we're going to, like, start getting our freaking rocks off over a third wild card, then, like, I'm going to move to somewhere cheaper than Chicago. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to move to, like, Dayton and just go watch the Dayton Tortugas or something like that because this is not interesting to me. But you know what is interesting? You know who's in the chat? The Salsa King of Chicago, Marty Garcia. So that's good news. There's another nice Cubs fan. We've got the Salsa King. The Sox don't have that guy, although he does sell them.
You
salsa,
know,
but
Danny, I think you should have responded. He said, "What's up, Captain?" And you, as the captain, should have said, "Chips ahoy."
Chips ahoy, matey. I did want to play some of the shit show that happened on the South Side. There was quite a Donnybrook. And I'd like to just kind of like narrate this thing a la John Boy as I play this video. Just check this sucker out. Involved in this fight. There's a guy in a Rizzo jersey. Looks like he's holding people back. And there's an Arietta comes into the picture. Just totally like throws a bow. Then a guy in a Hawaiian shirt goes down. He's getting pounded. Their beard goes flying. Dude in the white beater. Oh, number 88 gets punched in the face. That looks like Sox on Sox violence to me.
See, this is where I'm getting so confused. Like, if this was a Cubs and Sox, like, back and forth, it would make sense. But
it's not.
Half the time, I see Sox fans fighting other Sox fans, and then I don't even know why the Cubs fans are in this in any sense.
Yeah. Cub fan Rizzo looked like he was trying to break it up, but then he threw a bow in somebody's face. You see, there's a shoe flying. Finally, security shows up, but unfortunately, security's dressed in black, so you really can't tell the difference between the security and the Sox fan. I'm surprised the Sox fans during fights or a Cub fan wouldn't deck security. He just looks like a dude in a Sox polo.
That is a really bad idea. What are they wearing? I know that they have the red shirts, right?
Yeah, so they look like Cardinal
Wrigley
fans.
Yeah, they look like Cardinal fans. When you see them at Wrigley that they're not your, these are not your fans. Yeah, I just don't even.
Why I don't go to the Crosstown Classic anymore.
Oh, it's a shit show.
I'm just it is the one series, both parts of town, South Side and North Side, is the one series each year where it is guaranteed people are not going to be watching the game. They're going to be looking to start shit. They're going to be the last time I was at the Crosstown Classic was the day before the Morel walk-off last year. And I wasn't going to go. I'd sworn off of it, but there was a good deal and a seat and da-da-da. And so I went. And in the 7th inning, we're doing the 7th inning stretch, all that jazz, whatever. It's a totally normal baseball game. And somebody is like, God, there haven't even been any fights yet. And I was like, okay. The people who come to baseball games looking for Chicago v. Chicago fights are definitely not. This is not how I want to spend my time. Everybody thinks every fly ball is a home run. Everybody is freaking out about nothing. It is the worst of both fan bases together. I go to Sox games to see the Red Sox play every year, and it's fun and great and fine and nothing bad, but you can't do that when the Cubs are in town. And vice versa, and I'm out. I'm out on the Crosstown Classic. It's the worst.
It's like Yankees Red Sox or Yankees Mets.
I've been at Yankees Red Sox, and it's not that bad. The Crosstown Classic is the worst.
Well, but it depends on where you're at too, because that is one thing that the astronomical bullshit prices at Wrigley do is that people don't just show up because they want to get in a fight. Right, you can do that down on the South Side because the tickets are super cheap, and there's a million of them to get.
Not for that game. Not for that. They gouged. It was like $100 to go to that Cubs Sox game. The problem,
from the team though.
Yeah, from the team and secondary market because it's their World Series. It's the crosstown. Everybody gets the tickets to the Cubs Sox even before the season starts. Oh, that's going to be the big game. We're going to Cubs Sox, and we're going to get in a fight. The issue is, and you could totally not, if you had a day game, well, first of all, they didn't even play Sunday. You have a day game on a 1 o'clock on a Sunday. If you're going to play 2 games, play a day game on Saturday at 3 o'clock or whatever it is. You don't have as much time to get freaking shit-faced. Then you go again on Sunday at 1. Nobody's drunk. They're all a little hungover. No fights break out. But no, we have a rare off day on a Sunday, which hasn't happened since 1922 or something. I think I saw, or I forget the day, but it was 100 freaking years ago. The last time that happened on purpose.
We need some sort of a drop where it just says fucking schedule. I mean, we complain about this all the time, and then you see stuff like this. This is insane. There is no reason in any reality that 2 baseball teams should play each other 2 games only at any one time. It should always be 3. And then, to do it, and then they're like, well, it's crosstown and whatever. That's even more important. And you're going to do it a Friday, Saturday, and give a Sunday off. Why? Because the Thursday was off? Just give them 2 days off in a row and play Saturday, Sunday. You don't leave a Sunday day open. That's insanity.
It was a nice day too here in
Chicago. It was beautiful.
It really was. It really was a great day.
It was wonderful for everybody in Chicago to not have to go to that game then, I guess.
I just have to quickly shout out my bud, Clint Nathan, in the chat because he's absolutely right. We were at a Cubs Marlins game where the Marlins went up 11-2 or some ridiculousness, and these dudes walked up in Sox jerseys, and I was like, what are you even doing here? And they were like trying to like mock the Cubs. I was like, your team is terrible and it's over there. Like, why are you dressed like this at a Cubs Marlins game? And they literally just kind of like turned around and ran. It was pretty funny.
If anybody can make young men cry, it's Sarah Sanchez. And then
not on purpose. They just were being ridiculous.
Well, they deserve it. I mean, but look at this ridiculousness. And then in this also, there was 2 fans on the fields on Saturday night, also drunken. Here's fan number 1. So you can see he's evading into the right field corner, and he makes his way towards the outfield fence. He's on the warning track, and it looks like he's covered, but then he gets by security, starts running a little bit more down the warning track towards center field, but, they're hot on his tail here. And he looks like he's cornered again. He doesn't know where he's going to get, and they finally catch him, take him to the ground, and then like 5 guys piled on to him, and here come the cuffs. The fans boo, and they're going to carry him off the field. But shortly after this happened, a second fan, I'll just play a little bit of this because it's just a kind of a still video here. You can see there's another fan really right by where the other fan had been apprehended, but he had come over the wall in right center field and like twisted up his ankle and couldn't do the running that the other fan did, and he ended up having to be carted out on the field. And I was wondering, are the fans going to cheer when the cart leaves? The answer is yes. They will cheer him like he's an injured ball player. You hear that little applause going up for getting his ass off the field. That's to start the 9th inning. So, a lot of drunkenness. And I thought it was pretty funny. I saw a little bit on Twitter about this, and that Sahadev Sharma said, this is a response to Jesse Rogers' tweet. He said, we've had 2 fans come onto the field here. One got tackled. One injured himself jumping out of the warning track from the stands in the outfield. They brought a cart out to wheel him off. His hands are zip tied as he lays on the cart. Unbelievable. And then Sahadev Sharma said, Jesse asking this dude what the fuck happened as he's wheeled by with his hands zip tied and his leg in an air cast was the highlight of the evening.
Oh my!
You got Jesse Rogers asking questions to zip tied.
Would you like to comment, sir?
Oh my God. I've never understood, I want to go on the field. I do. But I've never understood the process. Even when I was drunk, and I've been sometimes very drunk at Wrigley Field, and I've just never understood why you jump out on the field. Where are they going? Right? Like he's running, and then he turns and he runs away, and he keeps getting away. There's nowhere to go.
There's no end game.
There's nowhere to go. You're screwed. And then to have the other dude jump in and just not have the dexterity to land the drop.
Listen, that's a far drop. If you ever look down from the bleachers at Wrigley and and I think that they tell you this on the Wrigley Field tour, which I have done a handful of times. It's a great way to spend $30 or whatever it costs these days when you have friends and family in town. Anyway, the surface on the warning track it's not soft dirt. It's crushed brick.
Yes, it's very hard.
It's literally the hardest stuff. You step on it and you're like, oh, this is not designed to be comfortable to land on. This is designed to warn you that you have stepped into something very different than what you were previously stepping on, and you should slow down.
Alexander Miller in the chat makes a great point here. If a fan goes onto the field and they're not streaking, they're cowards. I totally agree. If you're going to take the chance to go out there, it's not even a chance. You're definitely going to jail. You're definitely paying it $5,000.
Definitely going to jail. You're never coming back to the park. You have made a decision that forecloses so much of life to you.
So if you're gonna do it, get naked and get out there and show everybody what you got. Now you're making Sports Center, but with the black boxes over yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun.
It'll be fun.
Somebody have to edit out your privates in order to show this on TV.
Right. Yeah, because they don't show it on TV anymore. It used to be that they would actually show people running around. And then they decided, that's just giving them the attention that they want. So they moved away. So now you're not going to be on TV. Get naked. Get out there. Show it off.
Show it off. You at least got 40,000 people.
You're going to be on a video like what we just saw, and there's no way in that video you could tell if that person had clothes on or not, other than, like, it was basically just black bars over that person. They were wearing all black clothes. So there you go.
I don't think I'll ever do. Maybe if I ever. Frank Walker, one of the security guys at Wrigley Field, says better security at Wrigley.
Yeah,
I do agree with that. I mean, and you're wearing red shirts, so like we could see you coming because there's nobody wearing red at Wrigley unless the Cardinals are in town.
And there is a basket. You know, people make fun of the basket. People talk shit. The basket is hard to get past.
One guy went over it and
he hurt himself. Like I remember this dude like lying on the warning track for a while. It was
paralyzed. Bad. I heard.
Yeah, that was bad. That was really, really bad.
If you're gonna with the Nets now, I think your best way.
Don't jump on the field. Don't run on the field. It's a bad idea. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's probably the best move. But if I were to do it, it would be because I had like a terminal illness, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm getting naked. I'm running onto Wrigley Field. It's the most hilarious thing to all my friends. You guys didn't think it was funny if I did that, right?
Oh, everyone would. Even everybody who didn't even know you would think it was funny.
Yeah.
What would be even funnier is if you were in your seat, took your clothes off, ran down, jumped, and got stuck in the net.
In the net, just they gotta come hit the jaws of life to get me out of it.
You're all wrapped up. Your junk's all over on the one side of the net. You're on the other. We have to be careful.
Like, I should never have done this in April.
It's just cold. I swear, it's just cold.
I should have done this in August.
Remember how long it took him to get that bat out of that net? Whatever game that was, when the bat got lodged way up in the top, they had to wait till the next day. That could be you. That could be you.
Like the Schwar ball. Well, we didn't talk about the Cleveland situation, but I mean, the umpiring was pretty bad. It was embarrassing. Yeah, who cares? It really was hard. I did Cubs Pod today, and I was like, yep, freaking boring. Boy, that sucked. Suzuki hit a triple. Tyone was himself, which is okay. Who cares?
Yep. Yeah, it was rough. I got the one good game when they actually showed some life, but they still lost by one run. I did want to talk about that a little bit because Isaac Paredes, so many people up in arms about the missed call, right? The missed strike call from Shota. Okay. That wasn't, I believe it was a missed call. I do. I watched it, but that line was cutting that ball in half. That means it's a 50-50 ball. And if an ump calls that a ball versus a strike, that's baseball, right? It's not like the ball went right down the middle and he called it a ball. It was right at that edge. Sometimes those don't get called the way you want them. But that did not give up those 4 runs in that inning. It was Isaac Paredes who can't field a fucking ball right to him. And it's not even that he can't field the ball. He can't keep it in front of him, right?
He didn't look at, he took his eye off of it.
I spent way too much time coaching Little League, and that was the thing. You keep the ball in front of you so that if you do miss it, at least it stays right there. He played it off to the side, which is a thing that we tell 10-year-olds not to do. And I get it. When you're a pro, you can actually pull those things off. But I was literally watching his eyes. Watch his eyes in that play. For some reason, he's looking at Amaya. He's like looking at the plate instead of the ball. I don't know what is going on. Ball goes shooting away. That was the issue. Because if that play gets made, he at least gets 1 out. The other 2 outs come. You never get to the batter. I think it was Naylor, maybe, that gets the bad call, right? So all these people out here First off, the whole K-zone thing, everybody knows I fucking hate it. It's the worst thing that's ever been done to baseball is to put that fucking thing on TV, because every ball that's even minimally close, they're like, oh, that was a bad call. This ump is a fucking idiot. No, the ump is good. You're just seeing a fake fucking box on TV, and you're making assumptions about how this ball looks to everybody involved. It just drives me fucking, hold on, drives me insane about that, right? Because that box that we see is not the correct box. They adjust that shit later for an actual true box, and I don't know why, but that ball didn't even come up on the ump scorecard the next day, which makes me wonder what the hell is going on with ump scorecard, or maybe the ball was actually not as bad as we thought, but we don't know that because we've got this fake-ass bullshit box sitting there, and it's screwing with everybody's heads. But, again, Paredes makes the error. That leads to 4 runs, not that ball, because we don't even get to that batter if Paredes gets one of those outs.
Oh, I just got done making our banner.
Warning, I mean, I can keep going.
K-Zone, please stand by. I'll put it in the bitch clock. Maybe you'll.
I'm just so fucking. I'm so sick of everybody acting like this is the goddamn end all be all truth. It's not. It is not. You can watch the fucking games and see the line. It will be below his knees, or it'll be up to his fucking armpits. Like. You can see it on the fucking thing. Look at the batter, not just the box. Fuck off.
Sarah, you were going to chime in with something. I'm not sure what, but I think it was maybe umpire related.
I mean, I had some thoughts, but man, I mean, 10-10, Cotton, no notes.
Most people disagree with me, so if you want to disagree with me, it's just par for the course. Go for it.
I was not going to disagree with you. I was going to say that the greatest thing that happened in the Cleveland Guardians series was when Yoensky Noel hit his first home run and then his second home run. And Beth Mowins was like, the first Noel was followed by the second Noel, which was maybe the greatest like deadpan play-by-play line that I've heard from a Cubs announcer this year. And I think that we should talk about Beth Mowins more because she was the best thing that happened in that Cleveland Cubs series. And I was digging it. The first Noel and the second Noel was very, very good.
Her and JD have a good rapport. I think that works out pretty well. Her and JD have a better rapport than JD and Boog does.
For sure.
And then Boog kind of works out with some people better than others, but JD is not one of those people. But Beth is good with. I think that's the move. And I don't know where Boog is. Anybody know?
No, I don't care.
No,
I hope I never fucking find out where he is.
Yeah.
That would be better for me personally.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that he's been gone a while. I mean, nobody said anything about it, and just Beth's here. And I mean, and of course, everybody's acting totally normal about that online.
By the way,
listen, she was great, man. Like she's
great.
She's great. She's very good at what she does. That first Noel, second Noel deadpan was just incredible. JD knew he didn't have to say anything. You just kind of let it sit. It was a wonderful moment on baseball broadcasting.
I will give you the first Noel, second Noel, and I will raise you. Who does number 2 work for? She dropped that motherfucker in the middle of the game, and I was like, holy shit. She just referenced The Prisoner, which is like this insane British TV show from the fucking 60s. It only had like 7 episodes. That is unbelievably bonkers, and has like a 10-minute entrance, like a theme song to the show every time. It is not necessarily a good show, but it's kind of a great show.
I mean, she's so good. And the one that still sits with me, and I don't have a clip of it anymore because it got pulled offline, which is a bummer. And if anyone has a clip of this, please share it with me because I've been looking for it for like more than a year. She was calling a game in Toronto with JD, and it was the day after they had like caught fans fooling around in the upper deck. And she just makes this joke deadpan in like the late innings the next day. And she's like, oh, well, guess they're not getting frisky up there like they were yesterday. And JD just like gasps and goes, oh, you did it. And like the whole booth just stops, right? And I'm just like, I cannot believe this just happened on a Major League Baseball. And they just keep going. They just like keep rolling through it. If anyone has that clip, I used to have a clip of it, and the link I had is no longer good, but she's so good at the edgy parts of baseball commentary, the parts that are like goofy and borderline dad joke, and you shouldn't really say that, but you just did, and it's fine. And she's a pro, man. She's so good.
I just like that she tells me what's happening in the game, that I could be
she
like
does
in
that
the other,
too.
I could
She
be
does
in the
that.
other room and I still kind of know what's going on as I'm like, you know, making something for my mom. And then I'm like, the game's on in the other room and I'm still following what's going on in the game. And I have no idea what the footwear of Boog is. I have no idea what Taylor McGregor is currently interested in. I have no clue about any of these things because it's Beth Mowins that's telling me, hey, look, that's strike 2. There's a ground ball to short. Like all the normal things that happen in a ball game, she tells me about, and I love it.
Yeah. Agreed. You'll get no argument for me. Beth Mowins is the best. Beth and JD is the best pairing that we have.
In this first segment, we do, because I know, Sarah, you said you had to get off of here in a bit, but I did want to talk about this one final thing and maybe let you hit the bitch clock one more time before you take off and we go to commercial. But I know, Michael, you've been pretty interested about the concept of Ian Happ as the leadoff man. We've been talking about it for a long time. He's got a high OBP. Who says no? The Cubs usually, Ian Happ usually, but not recently. And give us some stats about how Ian Happ has fared as our leadoff hitter.
Okay, so I'm going to drop some numbers on y'all here, and it's going to blow everybody's mind because that's what numbers do. They never lie. And these numbers, not only am I going to say them, but then we'll extrapolate into what they would mean for this team if we did it this way, and they're 100% correct because that's how stats work. There's no variance once we do the math. So Ian Happ, as a leadoff hitter since June 30th, right? Like he didn't do it forever. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, June 30th, they just decided, well, he's going to start, or I'm sorry, July 30th. Is that right? 15 games?
Probably.
Yeah. Or 14 games. So they're 8-6, July 30th, 8-6 since then. And 3 of those were against the best team in the league. So maybe it doesn't matter where he was hitting at all. They were 8-3 up to that. And we were actually feeling really good. Do you all remember what it felt like 4 days ago when we were like, oh, we're going in to play Cleveland. We won the World Series there. We win 1 game. We're at 500. If we take this, like we can come up 2 games above 5. Like we
were 1 game under 500 when we started this series. We could have gotten to 500 again.
Yeah, we could have won the series 2-1 and been at 500 after the series. What we did was lose all 3 of them. It was terrible, but it is the best team in the league. But they were 8-3 with Ian Happ up there at the beginning. Then I went back. I had to look because Ian Happ started the season as their leadoff hitter. In 15 games starting the season, they were 10-5 with Ian Happ. There were a couple of games in that stretch where they put in Nico Horner. They lost them. So 10-5, and then Nico Horner was like 0 for 2 or 0 for 3. Obviously not much. But anyway, that's 18-11 in wins in just the 29 games where he's been there. So that's right about 600 winning percentage. And if you were to extrapolate that to where we are right now at 122 games, the Cubs would be at 73 wins, and we would be leading the entire fucking the league.
The league, yeah, we'd be the best team in baseball.
The entire league, we would be the best.
It's all Ian Happ's fault.
This is how numbers work. I want everybody to understand. I just did the numbers for you, and when we do the numbers, we look at these numbers that have happened, and then we miraculously extrapolate that and say, well, it's 100% certain we would have had 73 wins if they'd have just fucking started Ian Happ every goddamn game. We all know that's not true, but
it is true. That's what would have happened.
That is how the stats and the numbers work. But anyway, this is me kind of being snarky, fucking around, because we've been saying on the show for a long time, Ian Happ is better at the lead-off spot. And I have been really paying attention over these last couple of weeks to figure out why that is. Because many of you may notice Ian Happ gets up there and he swings at the first pitch. It's like he's being a dick. He's just like, fuck you guys. I don't want to lead off this game. I'm going to swing at the first pitch, and he makes an out.
Well, he got a hit the other day.
Right. Well, he's got a home run in there at one point, too.
Well, and he didn't have a great month. Look at his month. It's not good. I mean, he batted 180/184, 280, 379, yet we managed to win the games that he led off.
Well, because this is actually the thing. It's not that first at bat. It's Ian Happ coming up more often, and the things that he does fits that spot in the lineup. Taking the walks, right? Making some contact or whatever. Like, the numbers maybe aren't the greatest. And I think I saw him at the top spot. He's hitting 200, and in I think it was the 3 spot, he was hitting 207.
Yeah,
right?
He's best
but
7th spot, 8th spot.
Right, but his OPS is way less at the 3 spot. Or the 4 spot, whatever it was. But basically, when he comes up, you get him more at bats in the game. And I think that's the thing that is starting to help the Cubs sort of move through the order in a different way, right? Because when he was batting 5 or even 6 at times, he's coming up at different spots in the game where they need him to hit the ball. And that's where he's not pulling it off. But when he's coming up early,
he can walk or something.
And he can walk and he's on base for somebody, or he just sees more pitches or whatever he does. And I have had people tell me lineups don't matter. You look at the numbers and you put the best guy up at the top and you fucking do. That is not true. Things happen. I have been saying it forever. Baseball is art. These are artists out there. They are working. The things that they do, each game is a small sample size, right? That's it. It's only what happens that day. And as they do that, they do a really good job. They excel in those different spots, whether they, more so than even maybe their numbers are saying. Danny, you've talked about it. The sum of the parts needs to be greater than the whole, right? Or the whole needs to be greater than the sum of the parts. That's what it is.
Well,
the whole needs to be greater than the sum of the parts.
This team never clicked. And that's, I think, the problem is this team just doesn't click.
Well, and part of it
small sample size is like the anti-obvious shirt. It's like the meta shirt.
Yeah, but trust me, I'm anti-obvious all over the place. But no, but the idea is like you're saying this team has never clicked, and that's true. But part of the reason it's so hard to click is because they keep playing these guys in weird spots or using them for weird things. We saw in this series, they throw out a left-handed pitcher and you bench Michael Busch. It makes no sense. There is no good reason for benching your best hitter because he's a left-handed hitter and they have a left-handed pitcher, because you're going to bring in Patrick Wisdom.
I don't know that he's our best hitter, but but I get what you mean about platoon. The platoon is frustrating because it's not like Patrick Wisdom has been like crushing lefties like he used to either. The change in level, right? What the numbers may tell you that this guy is going to have better numbers. How far are those numbers apart, right? If it's 100 and 700, sure, I get it. But when it's 240 and it's 250, you're taking your better player off the field to put in a guy who's overall not as good because this one number happens to work out sort of in his favor in this situation. Now, I'm not saying there's no spot for it,
because there is. You need to look at this stuff and you need to know these things. But the Cubs do it like a fucking workbook. They have a manual, and the manual says left-handed pitcher, you change the entire lineup, and that has not worked. Maybe next episode I'll go into left-handed pitchers in the left-handed lineup, because
you might get a chance in the B. It's in the B clock. It's in the bitch clock, and maybe I want to do some bitch clocks with you. So save some of your ammo.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me go on that. That was kind of a long-winded sort of rant with this, but look, Ian Happ is so much better for this team at the top of the order. He just is.
But it could be better. Like, you could also have Dexter Fowler and move Happ like to somewhere. You could lengthen this lineup just.
You can always have better players, Danny. Yeah. That's especially on this team.
But I want to get Sarah another shot at the B clock here, and we're going to spin the wheel of grievances. We'll take Morel for Paredes off of there right now so we don't hit it again, and we'll give it another spin. We'll have Sarah do another 30-second B clock, and then we'll do a little Who's That Cubby and take a break. Counsell is lifeless, is what you've landed on.
Oh, and Sarah, you kind of like his lifelessness, right?
Yeah, you can talk whatever you want.
Don't worry about it. I've got a plan.
All right. Okay. All right. Here we go. Excuse me. Here we go.
Bitch clock. You have 30 seconds to bitch.
Not entirely sure why everyone is so upset about Craig Counsell when he's just reacting how anybody would when they had been hoodwinked into taking over this team from Jed Hoyer. Jed Hoyer is an absolute disaster. And he probably went to Craig Counsell. He's like, look, we're going to spend money. We're the Chicago Cubs. We'll have a payroll that is like 3 times the size of what you're used to in Milwaukee. And what Craig Counsell failed to recognize is that was going to suck all of the soul out of his being, because there weren't going to be any players worth playing on that ridiculous roster that somehow exceeds the luxury.
Stop your bitching.
He does kind of look like he's been kidnapped or something sometimes.
He's like, how did I get here? You may ask yourself, how did I get here?
This is not my beautiful catcher. You may ask yourself.
This is not my beautiful bullpen.
This is not my beautiful bullpen.
Oh, that was excellent. That was excellent, because you're 100% right. It's much as you
Counsell. He's going to be here for a few years.
As much as you want to complain about the manager, I think we know now. Jed, we thought Jed was the problem last year. He made the big switch. I gave him a minute to see what was going to happen, and he just solidified that it's him. He's the what? Doesn't Taylor Swift sing a song about him? He's the problem. Yeah, it's him.
I mean,
or some shit like that.
There's no way Taylor Swift cares about Jed Hoyer even a little bit at all. But I do want to say I was on with friends of this show, Wrigleyville Nation, earlier this week, last week, and we were talking about this a little bit. And the thing that comes to mind with Jed Hoyer that I may never get this image out of my head. The video interview he did on the Cubs during the Cubs game, right after the Morel trade, where he looked like a hostage in a solo room with like no backdrop behind him. And he's like, yeah, I really should. I had been up so late. I forgot to thank Morel and Biggie for being Cubs. And I was just like, this is a very strange video. You look like you don't like you look like some weird shit has gone down in the last 2 days. Like maybe you got Jedi mind tricked by the Rays and you're just figuring it out. And that's kind of how all this happened. Anyway, I think we're going to look back at that interview at some point in the future and just be like, oh, yes, this was the moment that Jed Hoyer just absolutely lost any credibility in Major League Baseball.
Oh, God, I wish they would run him out on a rail.
I mean, I just don't think they will. It doesn't feel like, I feel like he's doing exactly what Ricketts wants him to do, which is make him money and have the team be good enough so that the Cup Snakes keep getting sold,
And I think you are 100% correct, Danny. The numbers that they're looking for are dollars.
If you feel like me, then that makes you a ranter, and you should buy a ranter shirt with these bloody letterings. There's all different styles of it too, colors, and also long sleeve, short sleeve. It's all on Amazon under Sun Ranto swag. So if you're listening right now on the podcast, go to Amazon, just type in ranter shirt and you'll find it under Sun Ranto swag. Buy that sucker. we get $4 to keep this sucker on the air and go to Japan. We want to go to Japan. Sarah, are you going to Japan?
I have no plans to go to Japan. I might wind up there if circumstance takes me there, but it's fine. But I do want to say this. Infield Fly Girl deserves to go to Japan. Like, of all the baseball people I know, and I know a lot of baseball people, no one will be able to bring you the type of Cubs coverage you want from a perspective that is uniquely Cubs and capable of, like, figuring out all the cool things that are going on in Japan that the rest of us would miss better than Allison. And I just, please donate for Allison. She should go. She should be there. There is not, I mean this sincerely, and I have gotten to work in some really cool places like Baseball Prospectus and Fangraphs, and I write for Baseball HQ, and I work with Pitcher List, and like I know some really amazing baseball people. Not one of them will bring you the type of coverage that Infield Fly Girl will from Japan. And I can't even imagine anything that would mean more to her. So please make that happen for her, please.
Yeah. Venmo at Danny-Rocket with 2 T's, PayPal, sunranto@gmail.com. Up your pledge on patreon.com/sunranto. And why don't we get ourselves a Who's That Cubby? And then we'll play a commercial for that, take a quick break, let Sarah go, and come back and do some bitch clock of our own. And I'll tell you all about how I sang the anthem at South Bend Cubs. We got it.
Yep. Sarah, thank you so much once again for being on the show. You come on and you kill that bitch clock like no queen. Other.
I mean, you all know I'm an old debate coach.
Mm-hmm.
Time limits and speaking is kind of, it's my wheelhouse.
It's your thing, yeah. You're like,
oh yeah, Sarah, trust me, we know this is. Look, we watch baseball because we like to see people who are good at doing the thing do the thing. That's why when you come on, you get 2 of these things and nobody else does.
You're like Javi in his prime.
Oh, the Javi of the bitch clock. That's like the nicest thing either of you has ever said to me. I'll see you all soon. Have a good night.
Later, Sarah. So long.
Yeah, I think.
Who's
would
that Cubby?
Bitch Clock Javi be a good shirt? Bitch Clock Javi.
I think it would confuse people, but sure.
Yeah, not obvious. All right, here we go. Who's that Cubby? This is going to be a little bit tougher because the guys in the background are out of focus, but we're seeing dark blue tops. So it's in the
V-neck tops.
You can see that. Okay, yes, yeah. V-neck tops. So it gives you a little bit of an era there. This hitter is thin. He's fairly thin. Looks pretty tall.
Righty.
Yeah. So
guess in the chat who you think it might be. We're going to play a quick commercial for Patreon. Patreon.com/sunranto. You get the daily Cubs pod from me, Michael, and Mike. Every day telling you what's happening in the Cubs game in your ears daily, only for the Patreon people. So please join us, patreon.com/sunranto, and we will be right back. All over Chicagoland, there are thirsty, frazzled, overworked Cubs podcasters who are struggling to survive one more baseball season in the dog-eat-dog world of unpaid content creation. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. Become a super ranter at patreon.com/sunranto, where your support ensures that poor, sad, pathetic, ugly, loser Cubs podcasters can pay for tickets and beer, and in turn line the pockets of the baseball oligarch Ricketts family. Just $1 a month can buy a scorecard. $5 a month can pay for guitar strings to write a Cubs song. And $10 a month almost buys 1 beer at Wrigley Field. Cubs content creators are the lowest pieces of pond scum garbage that slither over the face of this planet. But super ranters help them get drunk and screw off at baseball games. What do you get out of it? The Sun Ranto Show delivered to your podcatcher without stupid advertisements like the one you're seeing and hearing right now. Plus, at other Super Ranter levels, you can get Cubs music, access to private Sun Ranto pages, the Ranter calendar, and special thanks and Ranter recognition in our live broadcasts. Plus, eligibility for monthly prizes. What does Sun Ranto get out of it? Your money. For tickets and beer.
go to patreon.com/sunranto. That's patreon.com/sunranto. And become a super ranter today.
Do you ever find yourself longing for long walks and talks about catcher metrics? How about a coffee over run differential? Maybe a candlelit dinner dissecting what exactly is the curious case of Miles Mastrobuoni? If you have, I have just the place for you, the Cubs PS Plus podcast. Come join us. Cubs PS Plus, a Northside numbers game, can be found wherever it is you get your podcasts, and on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all at Cubs PS Plus, a spin on the baseball metric OPS Plus. Are you ready? I'm ready. Here we go.
All right,
Okay,
we are back.
Who's the Cubby?
We got a lot of good guesses. Little Hawk got
Correct guesses.
Sarge in there. Somebody said Sandberg.
Hawk, yeah.
Dawson. A lot of those. But the first one I see that is correct. Terry E. Jody Davis.
One of my faves all time, and a great guy.
Yeah, I seriously remember as a kid sitting in the stands and yelling, Jody. The whole crowd would just be going nuts.
Jody.
It was so good. And I think he hit like he was known as like a bomb hitting catcher. And I think he hit like 18 max.
Yeah.
But he was a power hitter.
Yeah, no catchers. That was like back in the if they hit 200, you were happy. They were pretty much hitting like pitchers. Yeah, and a great guy too. I asked Jody Davis. I'm like, do you remember there was a game in which like there were a bunch of people chanting Jody, and you hit a home run, and he's like, I'm like, I was there. Do you remember that? He goes, I remember you. Like he totally humored me. It's like I totally remember those kids. I'm like, that was me, and I knew like we were both joking that I knew like, he didn't really remember, and
that would have been amazing if he was like, were you that little fat kid in the Pirates Little League jersey? And you'd be like, oh my God, you did know.
So I want to bring up just real quick before we get into more of this show is that this show is brought to you by our Patreon prize of the month sponsors who are in the clutch shirts. Code SunRanto for 10% off there. They've got all sorts of great stuff. We have our own collection there. You should check it out. Buy a shirt, we get like $4, and then we go to Japan. You see how that works? Also, all SunRanto Patreon winners of the month win a permanent paintings Matt Kammerer Ron Santo map artwork piece, and there it is. Really cool. And so you could win. Just become a Patreon member and you could win. Hashtag Chance in the chat. Win a Frank Chance postcard sent to you by me with a message of love and doom. I sang the anthem at the South Bend Cubs game. That was fun. I thought I'd talk a little bit about that.
You know what? Right before we get going here with that anthem, Danny, I just want to say you did an amazing job. But more importantly, if you're a Patreon supporter, you got to hear Danny talk about how he got prepared to do the anthem, which was a lot of inside, certainly I guess inside baseball, but about how you did it, which was very interesting. But for me, it was really when you got into the patriotic part of it and how you have worked through that and understood it and why and how you do the anthem the way that you do it. And I will tell you, I struggle with that because it really frustrates me. I was in the Army in the 90s, and since the 2000s, there's been so much performative, fake patriotism, hate patriotism that has gone throughout this country that it just makes my head sort of hurt because I don't know how to react to that anthem. But the way that you put it in that that I think it was like 15, 20 minutes, really helped me work through it and made me feel much better about how the next time I see it and the next time I do it, standing for it and really feeling stronger about it. So I appreciate that, and I hope that other people who have listened to it appreciate it in the same way, because it was really good. Great job.
And thanks, dude. And it's about the singing along of the anthem. And I guess I could talk a little bit about that first. Is just that, I'm a pretty cynical guy. I'm pretty left wing, but I am really sick of the right kind of co-opting patriotism when I live in this country too. It is my country, and I actually believe in this country. And I think for years and years, like, my way of dealing with like all the bullshit that happened in the country was be very cynical about the country. I used to not vote. Even in 2016, I wrote in David Ross for president. Like, I really did do that, because I've always been an Abby Hoffman-esque sort of instigator. The Merry Pranksters, if you ever heard of the Yippies, just Ken Kesey and the acid Kool-Aid test, like, that is kind of how I wanted to approach life. Hunter S. Thompson, if you will, but Hunter S. Thompson to me is a patriot. Like, he told the story of the 1972 election better than anybody else did. And so, like, there's patriotism in the kind of obtuse artists in me and Hunter and really all of us. And it shouldn't just be flag waving and Yankee Doodle Dandy and, love it or leave it and all that stuff, and so singing the anthem was always difficult for me, because I was like, I'm not singing that stupid song about war. I don't believe in war, bombs bursting in air. And so, I gave all that up. I'm like, well, I don't have to sing about that. I don't have to mean that. What I can mean is that this is the national hymn. This is the song. We all have to sing it. We should all sing it together. And I'm going to sing it in a way, because everybody knows the melody. I'm going to sing it in a way that you can sing along with me. And I'm going to sing it in a key that you can sing it with me. And I'm not going to grandstand and do all this riffing. Not because I can't do it or work it out. I probably could do some cool shit if I wanted to, but I won't do it. And the reason is I talked to Wayne Messmer, and he hates the grandstanders, just hates them. And he's right. I think it shouldn't be about you. It should be about us. And so if you look at that packed stadium of people and you say, this is for all of us, let's all do this together. We're all Americans, all the different religions and peoples and kinds of us, whether you're documented or undocumented or just got here or came on the Mayflower, it doesn't matter. This is the American experiment. I believe in it. I'm patriotic. And in fact, I wanted to get a little bit more Star Spangled to go up there and sing it, a little bit more Yankee Doodle-ish, but I wore red pants. That's all I could really muster. I used to have a vest that was like an American flag vest, very Abby Hoffman-ish. And you think about how the hippies did that stuff. They got the American flag pants. They kind of took those symbols back. And I think we should do that. Even if it is somewhat performative, I don't give a fuck. I'm singing a song that's performative enough. Like, I can't not be performative and perform at the same time, but I can definitely perform in a way that makes us all feel like we're all part of the performance, as opposed to you're watching me do it.
Right. Well, and, the thing about, things being performative, sure, sometimes they are performative, but performative can make things normative. Like how I rhyme that. Yeah. But it's like you fake it till you make it type of a thing. And people always give performative, like, they only look at it in sort of that negative connotation. But if you have an idea, like what you're expressing, Danny, like you want to get back, you want to take some of that back, you want to be a part of it, then it might feel slightly performative to you when you get started.
As long as
but nobody else will see that, and it will become normative to them that that's who you are, and that will help you become that as well.
And it's as long as you're giving more than you're taking, and it's just an attitude of just being like, okay, I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to take your energy and let it flow through me. And it's just kind of like a mindset that you have, and it's good. And I like what Everett says here. It says, I checked out electric Kool-Aid acid test from the public library and never took it back. Good for you. I bought Steal This Book.
I was gonna say Abby Hoffman wrote that, right? Like, steal this book, or was it Abby Hoffman that wrote that one?
No. Steal This Book is Ken Kesey.
Ken
No,
Kesey.
Steal This Book is Abby Hoffman. Ken Kesey is Electric Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Electric Kool-Aid. Yeah.
And
So.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Joey W. says, I was listening to a recap of Woodstock the other day, and they talked about how Jimi Hendrix brought the anthem back for the people. And that is also, now that's a performative anthem, but also it was so raw in that moment that it was perfect for that moment when people were so hurt by the Vietnam War. And for him to have such an explosive anthem that was so cutting in that particular moment, almost like at 9/11. When you saw an anthem right after there, like there was a certain sort of weight behind it where everybody kind of felt it. So let me show you a few pictures, just kind of behind the scenes. And I will play my performance of it, just if you haven't seen it.
One thing I don't know, did the Cubs win that day?
They did. The South Bend Cubs win, and Jackson Wiggins was on the mound. Here's the lineup, in fact. So as you can see, I saw Ed Howard still down in South Bend. A little disappointing to see that. Jordan Nwogo, he was a high prospect. And Rafael Morel, I only know him because of his brother. And a bunch of Ethan Hearn I had heard of, but everybody else I hadn't heard of. P. Ramirez, R. Garcia, Garriola. Like, these were not even guys I remember drafting. So, and apparently the South Bend Cubs aren't doing that well. So they're playing the Fort Wayne Tin Caps. That's a Padres outfit. So that's the lineup I saw. And then, so this is backstage. This is kind of going downstairs to where the players go down.
Oh,
so
this is cool.
They got an Ernie Banks number 14 shirt and jersey, and they got a couple other things hanging on the wall. And then, so I get out there and I see that there's all these cop cars on the field. So this is right when I first got there. You see, there's like, what is that? Like 10, 12 cop cars on the field.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
And Ethan Hearn won like some sort of community award. And I was joking to people, here's all the cops. They're all in the field. It must have been 20 cops there. I'm like, man, if you want to freaking do a burglary in South Bend, now's your time, because every single cop is at the game.
Yeah, and all the cars, everything.
Yeah, all the cars, they just can't get you.
Yeah, and you cannot get off that field quickly in that car.
No, and they're all in a line. They got to do 3-point turns. It's a disaster.
Yeah, you're going to run over there, Starsky Hutch across the hood, and get in your car, and then just sit there.
So a little bit more backstage. There's like the hallway that goes. You see all the Cubs bags line up there in the hallway, and then down that corridor, you go out to the door. There's all the Cubs logos on the wall that they painted, and then here's the laundry room. And you can see, I just thought it was interesting. It was there, so I took a picture. See the players' jerseys drying there, and their giant industrial dryer sitting there, or washer, or whatever the heck that is. They got a lot of boys' sweaty jerseys to launder.
Did it stink?
Yeah.
Did it smell like bad feet?
Yeah, it definitely smelled locker roomish down there. There's some balls in a basket, and then there's a black chair that I guess somebody sits in every now and again. And then there's the laundry room from the outside. You kind of get a little perspective. And then I thought this was interesting. Some of the signs that they have down there, they have pictures of Wrigley Field and signs that say the road to the show begins here, just to kind of inspire the guys. They even have it on the elevator. Big dreams start here. And on the elevator, there's a IV covered in the South Bend Cubs and the Major League Cubs logos there. And then this is my perspective on the field right before singing the anthem. You could see I'm about to sing it, and I just happened to snap this picture. They're like, oh, it's my turn. Better turn around and sing this song. So it's just kind of a different perspective being out there on the fields. They had me standing out there for a while. So
and what is that bear's name?
Oh, Amos? No. What is his name? They also have another bear, or they have they used to be the Silverhawks. So they have some hawk guy around there. But what is that guy's name? Not Amos. Somebody tell us in the chat.
Yeah, I can't remember, but did you ask him if he'd ever talked to Clark about putting on pants? Because
I did not talk to the mascot.
I guess South Bend is maybe a little more repressed than Chicago. And maybe that's why you can't go pantsless in South Bend.
Well, no, you can't. But I mean, there are a few establishments that I might have frequented. But I hung out with Joey and his wife Rachel, and also Jarrett Gable, Guy Sirius, bass player from Bleacher Bump Band. He came down with his son and wife, and they watched from the first row. So I appreciate all the support. Holly and Nathan Miller came down. There's some Club 400 people, and they live out there. So I just appreciate Joe and Rachel. We hung out afterwards at this dive bar where we had played before, and like some annoying guy was bothering us, and he was really drunk, and he was an artist. So like me and Joe were plotting about how we were going to beat his ass, and then we didn't have to because the bartender came and got him. So it's just nice to have a little ranter power. Joe's a big guy. Joey's a big guy. I could definitely talk a little bit more smack when Joey's around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like when I'm hanging out with Bleacher Jeff, I'm like, I say whatever the fuck I want. I'm like, oh yeah, you got a problem with me? You got a problem with this? Then.
Yeah. I have a Sasquatch right behind me.
Exactly. And so, anyway, should I play the anthem? Maybe I'll play it going into the next break is what I'll do. Let's go to the next part of this schedule here. And that's the spring schedule is out. Give us money to go to Japan. Actually, give IFG money to go to Japan. It is true. Like, I really don't care if I go. I would like to go. I'd rather go see Japanese baseball. Personally, I think I'd rather her see Japanese baseball. So would she. But that's when it's happening. Spring starts early. Look at that. First game is on February 20th against the Dodgers. And it's all probably because of that Japan situation.
It's insane. This is all, well, I mean, so the Cubs are playing the Dodgers in Japan, but that's regular season for them. But then they come back and they have a week of spring training left.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm showing the February schedule right now, just want to show everybody how early it started. I'll put up the March schedule now, and you see those two bright blue blotches.
I'm sorry. I got confused. I was thinking, okay, so the February schedule. So they used to start, like, pitchers and catchers used to start on the 14th, and now the games, spring training games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're really moving it up, and the season, well, for the Cubs starts on the 18th, and their two home games, they've got they don't have now. If you see, there's Cubs prospects versus Dodgers prospects and Angels prospects versus Cubs prospects on March 13th and 15th. So that's kind of interesting. But it looks like, did you hear my voice cracking? The Cubs are gone from Wednesday, March 12th, all the way to the 20th. So they'll be in Japan, I think, probably that whole time, getting used to the schedule, continuing the training. And like, the thing is, and I know that beginning of the season's like this anyway, in a way, but these pitchers, they're not going to be going long into the games. Like Imanaga probably is going to start one of these. And I'm guessing he's going to go 4 innings, you know what I mean? Like tops 4 innings at that point. Like, so it's weird to have a regular season game that could really matter.
Well, I will say this, it's like, yeah, IFG, get her to go, then Danny, and then me, because I deserve to go to Japan much less than everybody else, because I am on record as saying this is dumb shit. Exactly. I fucking hate this. And I don't care that it's the Cubs doing it. Like, if I can go, yes, I would love to. And it'll be fun, right? But I just want to go to Japan. And the fact that, get to watch Cubs Dodgers there would be awesome as well. But honestly, the Japan is the thing. But I hate that they start these games like this. And then they're going to come back and play spring training for a little longer. And then they're going to start the regular season. Like,
Well,
we could be 0-2 a week before the season even starts.
And it's really strange because it's like, yeah, you could be 0-2 before the season starts. Well, the season has started at that point, and then you come back and you play this weekend of games like 2 days later against the Padres, the Rockies, the A's, and then randomly the Braves come to Mesa, like from the Grapefruit League, to play 2 games. And then
they did that last year too. They did that last year too with like, maybe it was the Cardinals or maybe, yeah, it was the Cardinals. But they were like going to the West Coast. So they just came and played a couple of games and then they moved on to the West Coast.
It's kind of how it used to be, like the barnstorming games. Hey, might as well throw a couple games up in Texas, you know? And then they start the season really early, March 27th this year. And Michael, you're going to love this.
Oh my God.
No day off after opening day because they're in a dome. Something good happened.
I actually do love that. I do, because
I knew you would.
Fucking, it has always just exploded my brain that even in domes they would give days off. Like, I just never understood it. I don't understand it anyway. I mean, because everybody knows if I had my way, every Monday would be off and that would be your off day to start the season. You'd start it, you know, you'd have the Monday off if you needed to make that game up versus the very next day. Yeah,
but
it's always frustrating. But I'm super happy. That's great. I can watch. So is it that Diamondback series?
Yeah, the 27th.
So I'm going to get to watch 5 straight days at least of baseball to start the season and not have to have like a day off just to, I don't know.
Maybe when I fly back from Japan, I'll stop in Sacramento and check out that A's game. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be on the West Coast. I'll be like,
that would actually be great.
Yeah, just do a layover. So It's a weird schedule. I can't. Steve Scherr actually wrote me today. He's like, "Get ready," because he texted me that the spring schedule had come out, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to go to spring, because if you look, it's like it kind of like the first weekend they're at Sloan for 3 games, and then they're kind of every other day. You know, the first couple weekends are okay. I guess they got some weekends that you could go see them, but they're split squad. I don't know. It's such like. I'd rather go to Japan, and spring training's fun and everything. But if I kind of feel like Japan or bust for me. Also, I might have a chance to go to Poland this year because the theater's going to Poland. Not a chance. I mean, I'd have to pay my own way because it's not in the budget for the theater to bring me to Poland, because even though I would be of great help, they don't have the money to do it.
Right.
But as part of our I'll just say it now, as we have that supporting Cubs sort of part of our show that we do. The theater is still raising money for our upcoming season. We open in September. Trapdoor Theater. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you would give any amount of money, $10, $5, $100, burning a hole in your pocket, trapdoortheater.com. Just go there, check out our stuff. We do amazing theater in a small black box, and we just love it if you would be a part of it. So let's do some bitch clocking, and then we'll take a break. Okay. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Oh man, I don't care.
I'll go. I'm already in the spot. I'm in the spot.
Oh, you're already in. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the spot. So let's check out.
That's good. It'll give me a minute to. It's funny. Like I can just go off on a rant. I do like to get ramped up, but man, when you put the clock on me,
I know.
It's a different animal.
Yeah. Well, let's see what I get.
What are you going to get here?
Ooh, the Bush Platoon.
Oh, the Bush Platoon. Yeah.
The Bush Platoon. It's the Bush Platoon. I'm just going to sing Final Countdown to Bush Platoon, if that's okay.
and get thrown off of like YouTube for
it's the
copyright violation.
Bitch clock. You have 30 seconds to bitch.
The entire league is obsessed with handedness, and it's ridiculous because in any situation where there's like a 51% chance that this might happen and a 49% chance that that might happen, even if it's 60-40, that is not even good enough odds to change something so fundamentally like taking a guy who's having a great year. In other years would be the rookie of the year candidate, and just to sit him on the bench even when he doesn't need rest.
Stop your bitching.
Sometimes runs into one.
Yeah. Totally agree. And put my Little League coach hat on. You can't actually get better at the thing that you're not as good at if you never get to do it. So if you never let Michael Bush face left-handed pitchers, he's never going to get better at it. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me, and like just to push back a little bit on it, it's like it reminds me of like the Almora days where like, will you please play him against righties? And then they did, and you're like, oh, maybe don't. You know, he was like an empty batting average. It was bad. You know, it didn't end up good, but like still, at least we saw it.
At least we saw it, and you can figure it out, and you can move on. Because honestly, I don't want that guy on the team. I want, and this all came up when they played the Braves earlier in the year, and the Braves beat the living shit out of us when we put a lefty out there, and they did not change their lineup. Yeah. And they just beat us because they had good players, and they're like, no, we're going to let our good players play good. And that's how you win baseball. And if you don't have that, you're telling us all our players aren't very good. Like, we have to make every little, like, we have to
win on the margins. Yeah.
Yeah. Hedge every single bet that we have on every player just to try and squeak out a run. And the worst part is it just doesn't work. This team is horrendous against left-handed pitching.
The whole team. Like
the whole team.
Even the righties can't hit them.
and that's my whole point. Is like, you change your entire lineup and then go get your ass kicked anyway. Don't change your lineup then. Like, if you're gonna get your ass kicked, get your ass kicked with the people who you think might be something in the future.
Well, and it's like with Michael Bush, for example. I'm looking at this platoon splits right now, and his batting average versus lefties is actually slightly higher. He's only had not even a quarter of the at-bats against lefties because he didn't get a chance, but he's got a 254 versus a 243. Now the OPS is a lot lower because he has got no slug, from that side. I mean, he's got 6 doubles though. It's like, it's not no slug, it's not that big of a difference that you're going to take, but even his lesser numbers against lefties, unless Patrick Wisdom's actually having this monster, like there's nowhere for a lefty to ever get to him out. But no, all we're seeing is warning track power out of Patrick this year. So like, not only he's ran into somebody at that big grand slam against the Cardinals, and he's not terrible, but it's not great. It's not as good as I'd rather see Bush get the ABs, and I think that's what I'm saying, and I think that's what we're all saying. So it doesn't.
And what you're saying here is like, I get it. His batting average, but no slug, going up against left-handed pitchers. You know what? That's fine. That's the game where someone else needs to slug. Let him hit the ball and get on base. You need guys on base.
He bats second. That's not a bad place to have a single.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? It's not bad. So, all right, I'm putting up the bitch clock for you.
Oh, no. Okay.
All right. Just relax. You just remember, don't let the pressure. What did Joe Madden say?
Don't let the pressure exceed the pleasure.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Oh, I didn't take the one out of there, but
yeah, it's all right.
Okay, maybe oh, this is good.
Oh shit.
Jed's employment. We'll have to do some more of these later.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna put you
Pitch clock. You have 30 seconds to pitch.
All right. Jed Hoyer, should not be employed by anybody, but especially not the Chicago Cubs. And here's the thing. Everybody's coming around on this finally. This year, everybody's starting to figure it out. Oh, Jed Hoyer sucks. He's bad at this. We know because it's the 5th year of not a rebuild, and we keep seeing the same shit. We've been saying it on this show way longer than anybody else. Jed Hoyer needs to be fired. Please just do what we fucking tell you.
It really does feel sometimes like the only reason he has a job is because he already had a job. It's like that guy that's just been at the company for so long. It's like, oh yeah, Julian. Oh, Julian still works there? Oh yeah, they found a new position for him. Now he's down in the mailroom, and you're like, oh, Julian's still there. Like he's just like one of those dudes that's always hanging around. Like that. Who's the guy from Office Space with the stapler? Have you seen
Oh yeah. So, well, I literally studied this in college, and we spent like a good amount of time talking about how you work with your employees and where they should go and what they should be doing and figuring out their strengths and their weaknesses. And what happens is you promote people until they fail. That's what a lot of companies do. It's like, oh, you're a really good engineer. Let's move you to this. Oh, you're a really good at running a team of engineers. Let's move you to this. And it's like, oh, you really suck at this job. Well, we can't demote you to where you were good, but we can't fire you because you're here because we put you there.
Yeah.
So we're just going to kind of fucking sit you here and just work around it. And that's what they did with Jed Hoyer.
That precisely. This is Emperor wears no clothes, corporate, working man's thing. Meanwhile, the team is in shambles. I mean, really, because to spend all this money and be above the luxury tax and be so below 500 with all the best kind of guys put together.
The intelligent spending that they're doing. It's so intelligent that it took you until mid fucking August when you finally went, oh my God, we're over the luxury tax. When we have been saying this and every Cubs pod, it's not us. Look, we are ahead of a lot of people on a lot of shit. We were not on this. Everybody was on board at the same time. You're over the fucking luxury tax. Everybody knew it. And if they didn't know it until August, good Lord, what are you doing? Like, how are you not figuring this shit out? Like, were they just hoping beyond hope that they could trade Bellinger when they should have traded him last year? But they were just hoping that this year they could trade him, and he just wasn't good enough to trade, and he's going to cost them another $30 million next year because he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, who knows? It only takes one of 29 owners to try to pay more.
That's true. I'm not personally super against keeping Bellinger. He's not the greatest player, but he's not the worst player, and I kind of like some of the things that he brings.
He fits in.
He's not the problem, is the situation, He's not the problem, but I don't know. It's just funny how the intelligent spending, they have just worked themselves into this like complete and total
place
mess. Yeah. And then another thing here real quick is talking about how we're ahead of things. I'm watching the game the other night. JD's talking to Beth. I think that was the game. Maybe it was against White Sox though. But like, they were talking about Seiya and how he gets rung up on all these calls, quote unquote, outside of the zone, right? He told them in an interview he had to put the iPad away. He had to stop looking at the iPad in the dugout because it was driving him nuts. He was getting frustrated. He was seeing, because it was that they took the K-Zone off the iPads, right? Mm-hmm. At the start of the season, but then all the players bitched about it, and so they put it back. And you can see it. Seiya is like, I can't look at the iPad anymore. Was this 2 months ago Danny? A month ago?
Yeah.
At least.
Get the iPads out of there because they're screwing with their thing, because that's why they're looking at strike 3, because they're like, no, that is a ball. I saw it on the iPad. They're like, well, that's not what the umpire is, because the umpire's not looking at the iPad and being like, oh, I fucked up that call. I should call that one 2 inches lower, Yeah, that's not the game that's being played. It's not being played on the iPad. So you got to play the game that's actually being played. Yeah. You're right. You were ahead on that for sure.
And then the other thing about that is I saw something, I'm not sure where I saw it, but umpiring, this is going to blow people's minds. Over the last 4 years, it has gotten more accurate each and every year. This year, the umpiring is the most accurate since they've been tracking it. It's the most accurate. The umpires are getting better and better and better. Now, I think the K-Zone stuff is helping them. They're like looking at this stuff and they're kind of trying to figure out what they were doing at that moment or whatever. And it does hold them a little bit more accountable, right? So it is sort of helping them make these calls better. But these umps are actually getting really fucking good. 96%, that 9-8 game, the one where everybody was upset because one fucking ball.
Yeah, well, it matters which one it is sometimes, it's like they're not all created equal in the game,
It absolutely does. But it's like 96 fucking percent.
Look at this one, though. This was Alfonso Marquez in the 2-1 game. 84% called strike accuracy. And I know what you're going to say, but he called all those strikes on that inside corner. That means was blind all night.
No, but
cataracts he has.
No, you know exactly what I'm going to say. All those are correct calls because if he starts there and he goes there, here's the problem that I have with
pitcher's ump. He's calling that strike on the outside corner to righties and on the inside corner to lefties. He's calling that pitch. What I
don't like are 4 of those 5 balls that are in there. Those are really bad calls, right? Because so for the podcast, we're looking at the ump scorecard. There's a red blob. That's where the strike zone is. And there are 4 balls that are well in the strike zone of the blob. And the blob represents what the umpire is actually calling. It has nothing to do with the square box.
That's his strike zone. That's the ump zone. Yeah.
That's the ump's zone. So against his own zone, he called 4 balls really freaking bad. Really bad.
And that were strikes, but he called them balls. Yeah.
And that is where I'm going to say I don't like this. And when you look at the umpire scorecard, it says 95% called ball accuracy. But that doesn't make any freaking sense because those are the ones that are off. And the 84% called strike accuracy, those are all in the same place. This is how baseball was played forever. You figure out the umpire strike zone, and then you hit the ball where it's at. And that's how you play the game.
Either way, it wasn't a great game for him. I'm sure Alfonso looked at that and was like, I could do better. If I was Alfonso Marquez, I'd be looking at that and be like, I got to think about myself and maybe send some apology letters.
Yeah.
Kidding, though.
No.
Now, what do you think?
I would not send apology letters for the strikes, but those balls were bad.
Yeah, and sometimes they do. I know that players admit that they like it when umpires are like, "Hey, I missed that one. Sorry." And I hate it when it seems like they're making it up. Where then they call like a ball strike because they called the strike a ball before. Like I don't really think that happens, but some players think it does happen. So maybe it does happen. I don't know.
No, I do. I do think that happens, and I don't think it happens like completely consciously. But sort of like it's in their head, like I kind of,
Mm-hmm.
But.
So I'm going to play the anthem. Maybe I'll wait till the end of the show and then they'll just play it out with the anthem. Instead, let's just keep moving. And I'm not going to play a commercial here, but I will say in the clutch shirts is where, because that's the commercial I was going to play. In the clutch shirts why don't you wear an in the clutch shirt? And you could have that awesome Browns twirling hand like Michael Cotton is wearing right now. Check them out, intheclutch.com. Use code SunRanto. You get 10% off, and we get a little bit of money as well, and we appreciate it very much. I also want to point out that we have an Amazon search bar. Go to sunranto.com/stuff. Shop on Amazon. Do whatever you do on Amazon and buy all your stuff. Fill your cart. Then go to sunranto.com/stuff. Click on anything that says click me, and then check out, and then we get a little bit of kickback. I think we got like $12 last week. Really appreciate it. That is money towards Japan. What can I say?
Yeah. No, I love it. So in the chat, a lot of people are in here. Everett Tosher. It's an actual stat. Say has more bad calls than any other player in the majors. Okay, I agree, but I need to know what they're basing that off of. If they're basing it off the K zone, sure. If they're basing it off of what the strike zone is for the ump, then that may not be quite as bad. But I do think that he gets rung up. But this was the thing that used to piss us off about Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber. At some point, you gotta fucking just hit the ball where it's at. You just have to. Like, it sucks, but you know, we're not developing anymore. We are performing. Perform. Do the thing that you know you can do, and that's hit a ball. And even if it's an inch out of where you think it should be, hit the damn ball. Or foul it off at least.
Make him come in there again, yeah.
Also, he says, you'll never convince me the umps are getting better. Yeah. I will say, it's
hard to believe. Yeah.
I was absolutely shocked by that. And you know what, though? Again, looking at those ump cards, I look at those a lot to see if what we're seeing, what people. I don't know that I agree with those ump cards all the time. So it could be that based on whatever stats they're using for that, it's getting better. But I don't know. I don't have access to the entire data file that everybody has that they're saying that this is better or worse.
I swear to God, I've seen on the MLB app that I looked at the game. I'll be at the game and I'm like, where was that pitch? That looked like a strike, but I'm like sitting in the crowd. So like, you know, I'm probably wrong. And I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, we got hosed, whatever. And then I look later, like when I get home to do Cubs pot or something, and now it's like a ball. And I'm like, they changed that. Like I remember sitting in the stands and being like, we got hosed. And then I get home and I'm like, wait, maybe we didn't. Like, I don't know if they're changing things or what's going on.
So the Cubspiracy in me would say, yeah, they're changing it to make their umpires look better. You know, but the non-Cubspiracist would say,
wrong first.
Right. The initial call, like they're showing what they have initially, but then they go back and they hit it with the New York cameras because, you know, New York has better angles than us, Danny.
Not spreading the news.
One of these days, we need to just walk around Wrigley and just find these New York cameras. Yeah. Just because they have to be there, right? Like New York can't have better angles unless New York has different cameras somewhere.
Matrix shit. They can turn it all around like you're inside of a Viewmaster.
So I want people to just start going to their ballpark and be like, this is a Chicago camera. Where's the New York camera? And just start asking that question.
Why can't we watch the New York camera on TV? So I'm wondering where the Toronto camera is. Oh, it's coming to Chicago. The BJs are coming to town, and I'll put up the numbers here. They're basically kind of like the Cubs. Wait, is this right? Yeah, they're 57 and 64. That's kind of where we're at. They're a little worse on the road. They are 7-5 in August, so they're above 500 in August. They just swept the Angels. They don't strike out a lot. We walk more than them. Neither team hits for power. We're both bottom half of OPS. They don't steal. We do. It's mostly Pete Crow Armstrong. Pitching, their 4.54 team ERA ain't getting it done. That's at the bottom of the league. The Cubs now 7th in the majors in team ERA, all for naught, 3.75. The Cubs now have the 8th best bullpen in the major leagues. Can you believe it? I mean, I'm talking about the overall. After such a shitty beginning and all the blown saves and shit, they're now one of the best teams. And but the Blue Jays, if we can get into their bullpen, third to last team ERA bullpen, 5.02. So get into that pen. And their bullpen has given up the most homers while pitching the 6th fewest innings.
Oh my gosh!
So there you can hit some freaking dogs off their BP.
But I guess that means that their starters are going deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, their starters have to be going deep if they're the 6th least innings.
Yeah, 6th least innings. But when they're out there, boy, are they giving up the long ball, because it is. I mean, that's a counting stat. It is
right.
This is not home runs per 9. This is like number of home runs, like overall, like 77 dogs leaving the park kind of thing, in the 6th fewest innings. So it is, their home runs per 9 is probably at the top, unless one team managed to pitch a lot less innings and still be at the top of dogs.
Yeah.
Defensively, they've committed 69 errors.
Nice.
5 more than league average, and that's 9 more than the Cubs, who have been better in that category. A 7.04 DER defensive efficiency ratio now belongs to the Cubs. To the Blue Jays, 699. The league average is 697 right now. So we're above that defensively. They put some things together.
Oh, hold on.
I think his name is Pete Crow Armstrong, I believe.
Yeah. And I mean, we've been doing DER for like 3 years now. And I feel like
Longer
it got, but it got up over 700 as the average for a couple of years. So you're telling me not only is batting averages down, like batting average is down, slugging, all that stuff, the offensive shit is all down, but the defense is down too.
Well, I don't know. Let's see what the league average DER was last year.
I just don't understand how this can even work that way. Right?
They don't show the league. It's league average DER was 691 last year, so it's actually higher this year.
Oh, okay. So so that makes sense.
We always said was good. 700 we always said was good is what is not that it was the league average, because the year before it was 697. This year, so actually last year was it's usually around 700, but just under it.
Okay, so. Well, but that makes sense. If your batting averages go down and your OBP and your all that stuff goes down, your DER should also not go down. It should go up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why I got confused there for a minute. I was like, wait, that just doesn't make any sense.
So the Blue Jays, I mean, they're pretty average in all ways, pretty below average offensively, pretty below average from a pitching standpoint. And, but they've got an above average anthem, which we're going to hear all weekend long. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to get to hear "O Canada." To me, it's a much prettier song than the anthem, which is quite hard to sing. I did explain what is hard to sing about the anthem. It's goes pretty low, goes pretty high. You've got to sing it in a key where you can accomplish both those things. It makes sense to me that the United States, which tends to do things the hard way for no reason, would also have a really hard to sing anthem for no reason, when there's perfectly good other anthem like America the Beautiful, which is easier to sing. That would be fine. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies. Way easier to sing, prettier song. But no, oh, say can you, and the rock is right. It's just as low as you can, as high as you can. It's ridiculous.
And especially since we all know, I mean, everybody learns at a young age that the national anthem was written to the tune of a British drinking song or some shit like that. So that
until I was an adult, but
you get that.
They didn't teach me that in the second grade. You're like, hey, you can get drunk to this.
But I just looked up "O Canada," and guess when the national anthem "Oh Canada" was officially declared?
Oh,
Just a year, a decade. Give me a decade.
It's probably like the 1930s or something like that, I would say.
1980. July
80?
1st, 1980.
Wow, that's late.
So it's only 40 years old.
Wow.
44 years old. It's young. The national anthem of Canada is younger than most of us.
Yeah.
But it makes sense why it's like a good song and it's easy to sing because people understood what the fuck they were doing by 1980 when they were making their song versus in 1796 when dude was like whacked out of his mind, scared to death, sitting on a boat and writing lyrics to a drunken beer song.
But it said that it was let's see. The English lyrics adopted in 1980 are based on a version written by Robert Stanley in 1908. And it was first sung in 1880. It was officially proclaimed the national anthem. And the music, and I guess it was in French.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
It just wasn't proclaimed the national anthem.
It was just proclaimed. Well, because it was the God Save the Queen before that.
Yeah, exactly. Freaking.
So July 1st, 1980, they finally got away from the Queen.
She's still on the money.
Okay, so no, she's not. The king is.
Oh yeah, they had to print all new money because
so okay,
the lady died.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It's a little older than I thought, but still, you're right. It's a better song.
It's freaking younger than the War 1812, which is what ours is about.
And it's really like in just terms of the feel of it, it's much more like this land is your land, this land is our land. You know, sort of like beneath the shiny skies, great prairies spread, lordly rivers flow. Like these are the lyrics, you know?
None of that is in this song. You're just a wealth
I'm looking at the lyrics. English lyrics. Yeah. Oh, that's the original lyrics.
Canada, our home and native land. True.
I'm on Canada.ca.
Well, it's incorrect. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, our true north, strong and free.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was in the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah. Incorrect.
Yeah. Incorrect. Yeah, we now learned that when your parents bought that whole set of encyclopedias when you were a kid, it was just full of fake stuff.
Yeah. Britannica GPT has got everything ruined. So, anyway, here's the matchups. Yario Rodriguez, who's a rookie in his 12th game. He's only pitched in 12 games. He's got 3.60 ERA. He's got some good stuff. They're high on the kid. He's going up against the old man, Hendo, who's 3-10 with a 6.60. They skipped his start. Let's see if we get which Hendo we get. Jekyll and Hyde. He could go 6 runs in the first inning. He could go 8 innings and pitch a Maddox. We don't know really what's going to happen, but he's good on Fridays at Wrigley oftentimes. I got a good feeling. Skip to start.
I hope so.
Then 35-year-old Chris Bassett, speaking of old men, he's going to go out there. He's 9-11 with a 4.30, going up against Justin Steele, who's 3-5 with a 3.16 ERA. I was like, what about Bassett? Did I remember something about him? And maybe there's more to it than this, but I looked up news about Chris Bassett, and all I came up with that New York Mets Chris Bassett said the MLB should stop testing for COVID-19 and that he's not going to inform the team if he feels like he has COVID. And then he also was somebody that dropped dime on every team in the big leagues knew that the Astros were cheating. Chris Bassett said that. So if there's something else about Chris Bassett, I feel like there was something else, though, that we're like, oh, that fucking Chris Bassett always running his mouth. But that's 2 examples right there.
Yeah.
So Justin Steele, 3.16. He would look good last time. He just didn't manage to win. And wait, No, he didn't pitch against Cleveland. He had the Sox last time, and we did win. That was the Saturday game, right?
Yeah.
Steele. Yeah, he was good. I'm mixing up my guys. And then the last game is Bowden Francis or Bowden, 5-3 with a 4.92. He's another young guy up against Imanaga, who's 9-2, also with a 3.16. Him and Steele both have John 3.16s. And look at this freaking dirtbag Bowden. Look at this clown. He looks like
God.
He should be like Morgan Wallen's opening act.
That is one of the worst mustaches I've ever seen. And I have seen a lot of bad mustaches this year. I'm looking at you, Patrick Wisdom. But this thing isn't even close to symmetrical.
No, he like on one side he's got like a smile line, and it just doesn't even grow in the smile line.
Yeah.
It looked like. I mean, dude, did you even know it was picture day, bro? What is going on with that thing? Literally looks like somebody put their asshole on his fucking face and left a brown poo stain on his upper lip. I mean, can you not imagine that's what that is?
No, it's horrendous. I agree. It's bad.
What a dirtbag.
Anybody who lets him, all of his family members who let him walk around like this, you're bad people.
Yeah.
You're going to hell because you're letting this person that you love, apparently, your friend, your family, walk around with this shit stain on his face.
Terrible. So I did get a video in from Cubstradamus and let us know what's happening next. So here he is.
Tom Ricketts is an old miser, but money didn't make him wiser. After beating the Jays, and after an off day, they're gonna keep beating the Tigers. Ha 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 ha. Elon Musk 2024.
Oh my God, he's a muskhead. He really does make me think of a muskhead, by the way.
He might actually be Elon Musk.
You know what, though? It also makes sense because he smells so bad. And the term musk is like a smell.
Musky.
So, musky, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Tiger's coming to town. Javi, and then there's a day off. And it's the anniversary of Tom Brenneman getting canceled after on Monday of the Nick Castellanos homer and never put that headset on again. See, I've said terrible things on the mic many times, and I never had to go to Mexico. I never had to do anything. I just kept putting the headset back on. I'm like, deal with it. I'm sorry I said that. Don't worry about it, everybody.
But you also went to Mexico a number of times.
Yeah, exactly. I was just there. So, anyway, we got a Cubsler to do.
Yeah. Oh, we have some winners.
Yeah, we do.
Let me pop this Cubsler. We had the most correct answers for this one than we did for any other one. So here it is. This is Cubsler 25, a Sesame Street somebody. Old Pete, not a politician. Phillies traded him for Pickles, World War in 18 instead of World Series. And this is Grover, Cleveland, Alexander. So obviously the Sesame Street somebody is Grover. And then Old Pete, not a politician. Grover Cleveland was the president. Mm-hmm. And Grover Cleveland Alexander was the baseball player. And his nickname was Old Pete. The Phillies traded him for Pickles Dillhofer. And in 1918, the Chicago Cubs lost the World Series to the Boston Red Sox. But despite being on the team, Grover Cleveland Alexander did not play in that series because he got sent to war. World War I. So he started the season. He played like 3 games. And then they drafted him. And he had to go to war. And he was gone for the rest of that season. Then he came back and struggled with, what we would now call PTSD and all the stuff. And he had some serious issues, but battled through it to become a Hall of Famer because 1918 was only like 5 years into his career or something. Like he stuck around for like 20 years. Like he was a good pitcher, Hall of Fame guy. And imagine doing that within the middle of it, like you had to go to World War
Went to
I.
war. It's like these guys. It just was a different kind of guy. I mean, can you imagine Ian Happ having to you gotta go fight in Iraq or something? Like
On the one hand, when you come back, you're like, well, this is the easiest shit I've ever done.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he's got no stress on the mound.
Yeah, exactly. It was like,
Now, if he gets a comebacker like Assad did the other night, they might have to take him out of the game just for, having flashbacks. But
God, if our travel ball boys were in freaking war, they would be wiped out, dude. Like they would not. Who would be the best guy? Pete Crow Armstrong. He'd be crazy. He'd just be like running through. It'd be like in Platoon. He'd be that guy getting freaking lit up because he ran.
Oh yeah.
he like took out like 500 Viet Cong. He'd be like Rambo or Terminator or whatever, and then like he'd end up just getting riddled with bullets.
Just go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
Just insane. He'd be a good warrior, but he'd end up dying out there. I would think, but the rest of them would be pretty bad at it. I think Assad would probably be a pretty good soldier. He'd seem tough.
I mean, but on the flip side of that, these travel ball boys just do what they're told. They could be great soldiers, maybe not sergeants, but some good PFCs out there.
Oh my God! Can you imagine Beetle Bailey being like Jed Hoyer, just telling everybody, "Okay, fellas, get your canteens. We're going on a hike. We're gonna take the high road. Hi ho, hi ho. It's off to war we go."
Oh my God!
God, Jed Hoyer would be the worst platoon leader. Get the whole squad killed.
Jed Hoyer would be like, conserve your bullets. Let's do some intelligent shooting.
Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes.
Okay. All right. Let's get into picking the winner here. Artie Boucher, Jeff Bjorn, Clinton Nathan, Seth Kennedy, Everett Tosher, Scott Sowers, Jared Pat, Aaron Nadell, Doug Gross, and Mike Waller all had winning answers. So we're going to spin to see who gets me screaming their name.
And it is going to be... Oh, Scott.
Scott Sowers.
He had it before. No screwism for you.
This is like his, this might be his fourth. Might be his fourth win. Scott, if you're in the chat, let us know. This might be your fourth win. But I'm super happy. We had 10 people answer that correctly. That's the most we've had so far. And Doug Gross, Aaron Nadell are brand new. Everett Tosher, new. He's not new to the Ranters, but he's new to getting this thing correct. So that was great. Yeah. Cool. So really excited about that. Let's see how you all do with this week's Cubsler. Catcher exposed to MLB in 98 aptly earned a single silver slugger. His biggest hit came in 06, a red line rumble to remember. All right, so we'll do that one more time real quick. Catcher exposed to MLB in 98 aptly earned a single silver slugger. His biggest hit came in 06, a red line rumble to remember. So that's the current Cubsler number 26. Send an email to sunranto@gmail.com. Please put Cubsler in the subject line because it makes it a lot easier for me to find all the correct answers.
Cool. And just a couple of announcements. Well, actually, just really one. And that is that we are on September 20th. We're throwing Dan Nielsen Day. I've just actually been in contact with his mother. And it looks like we have quite a few RSVPs for that so far. Some of his family's going to come in. We're going to meet before the game. We're going to go to the game. We're going to have a nice time together, celebrate Dan. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If you go to Facebook, there's an event. Just look up Dan Nielsen event. It's a public event. It's on the Sun Ranto page. I believe I shared it on the Ranters page. If you're not in the Ranters Facebook, that's just kind of where I put it. But if you have any questions about it, September 20th is the day. It's a 1:20 start. It is a Friday. Contact me. We're getting group tickets. That's pretty much it. So, but I hope you guys can all make it.
What day of the week is that, Danny?
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday, 1:20 start.
Yeah. So if you
I
get
really
off
want to
work,
do that. I went last year. Dan's family was wonderful to hang out with, and that would be fun. And I mean, the only thing that was wrong with that game last year, I mean, besides losing, was it was a night game. And man, day games are so much better. They really are. These
well,
really
that's
are.
what this is going to be. So,
Yeah, I'd really like to do that.
so come on through and make it a special day. I've got a few TFCs, and then we'll get out of here.
I have one.
Too, and then we'll pick a chance winner. Hashtag chance in the chat. We've been forgetting it lately. Have you noticed? We forgot a couple times. No.
It used to, people are just so used to it. They're just like, maybe I'll get one. The people who win, the same people win all the time. They're like,
yeah,
I don't need a 47th card from Danny.
They just don't like try to decipher my handwriting, which is nearly impossible. So, so yeah, here's my TFCs. I got a couple of them here. The first one, I don't know if you saw this, is that this is from Michael Bowling. He said, that's not Mallory Swanson, because the Fox on Saturday night, it was the Cubs versus Sox on National Game of the Week. And Dansby Swanson got his 1,000th career hit. Congratulations to him. And Mallory Swanson won the gold medal and scored a goal in the game. And then they put up a picture of somebody else. I mean, oh my God, you guys.
So
one job. Whose job is this?
I'm not sure who that is 100%, but I think it might be Sophia Smith, who is also on the soccer team. And they have very similar hairstyles, but they do look different. Like,
Yeah.
Yes, I knew pretty much right away. I'm like, yeah, that's not her. That's pretty rough. I mean, come on, guys.
You had one job.
Well, and then, so AJ, I was watching that game. AJ Pierzynski took the blame. Apparently, AJ Pierzynski said that he put the graphic together. Who in the hell is letting AJ? First off, who's letting AJ call these games? Second, who's letting him do the graphics? If that's real, like,
Well,
why is he doing the fucking graphics?
I think we now know why they let him call the games. They're like, man, we don't even need an intern anymore. This is great. AJ will intern.
Yeah, they're just like, AJ wants that job so bad. They're like, well, we're not going to pay you, and you're going to have to do the graphics.
So you got one?
Yes, I have one. This is in reference to Isaac Paredes being the glove first third baseman that everyone has been waiting for this whole season. I've been hearing about it. We need a glove first third baseman. Max Gaines says Isaac Paredes earning the mold glove.
Oh, the mold glove. I like
And
it.
it's a terrible dad joke pun bullshit, but it was the only person, like I told Dave before the show we were talking, it's like everybody's just like, this guy sucks, that guy blows, like nobody is having any fun with it. And Max Gaines, I'm assuming this is some musclehead out there, he's like, no, it'd be awesome, mold glove.
Yeah, that'll show him. The Hawk Tour girl was out there in Major League doing some stuff. She's the viral internet star Haley Welch, the Hawk Tour girl, threw out the first pitch at the Mets game today. There she is throwing out the pitch. And this guy, James Pethokoukis, he's an economist, I think. He says, a republic if you can keep it.
See, that's what I'm looking for. That's that is a nice diss.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, like, look, I get that she did it in the first place, but she's touring on this thing or like doing it. I guess
I wish it would happen to me. I heard she made 200 grand. If I made 200 grand right now, that'd be a little good retirement money. And I'd be like, okay, now I'm not so worried about getting old.
Yeah.
I got 200 grand from going hot to her.
You're right. My bad.
I mean?
You're more power to her. Ride that hawk to ride it to an early retirement if you can.
So, Everett says she threw a spitball.
Absolutely. Oh my God. You know she's gonna have an OnlyFans soon, right?
Well, no, they asked her about that, and she's like, "That's not what we're doing here. Like, I'm gonna parlay this into me having a fun life and not get naked for your ass. Like, no fucking way." So good for her. But she'll do it in a year.
You know what? At least she's starting out on the right foot. I'm with her. You know, go toss some balls, do less spitting.
No, that's for the OnlyFans.
And stay off the OnlyFans.
No, well, that's where she's tossing balls. This one was really strange. Did you see the other night that the announcer for the Guardians suggested that Drew Smiley would want to kill himself based upon giving up the home run? It was Rick Manning, a former player, I think, right? He said, "Oh, Smiley, he wants to kill himself. He hung him a breaking ball." And boy, Noel took advantage of it.
Oh, okay.
Just a little much. It was like,
that is a little much, but it's not as bad as what I thought. Like, I thought he said he should kill himself. And I'm like, oh my God, that would be horrific.
No,
he wants to kill himself.
Pedro Strup's dead relatives is still the best one.
It really is. If he had said he should kill himself, that would have knocked Pedro Strup's dead relatives off of the platform. I think he came in at a solid silver.
Yeah, good job. And then I enjoyed this is that Loud Chuck during the White Sox Cubs series felt the need to let everybody know that Cub fan just puked at top of section 109. So,
which his name is Loud Chuck.
Yeah,
which makes me think of puking.
Yeah, exactly.
It might be Loud Chuck puked at the top of 109.
He's just always around when there's puke happening. I think it's fine. And then
that's his claim to fame. He's like, I can find a puker in a crowd of 25,000.
Look at that guy. He's feeling queasy. So this last one, I just happened to see is I accidentally signed up for Nextdoor, which is an abysmal.
Oh, my God.
I can't get off it, too. I'm trying to unsubscribe. It just keeps coming. And I'm like, I'm being barraged by my worst neighbors.
So everybody knows my feelings about Facebook. Facebook was created by angels compared to Nextdoor. Holy shit.
It's awful. So anyway, but I saw this today and I'm just like, now this has nothing to do with baseball, but it did happen in Chicago up on a street that I was actually looking at recently, an apartment up there. But this is just classic. On Arthur Avenue, I was looking at a place up there, and this is pretty small, but I can read it. This was put on somebody's car. He said, someone put this note on my car, and two other cars parked immediately in front and behind mine. So this is just some guys parking on the street. You know, it's like we all park on the street. And this guy had this note to say, to all three of these cars. He said, "Hey, asshole," with 5 exclamation points underlined.
All caps.
Yes, asshole. I'm talking to you. This is at least the second time in the last 30 days you're treating this street like it's your own personal fucking driveway. Well, if it happens again anytime in the near future, you're not going to get a nasty letter, but something more direct instead. Have a nice day, you piece of shit.
Wait.
It's amazing.
Where does this person live? Like,
we're apparently on the same street.
Right. But like, You're in Chicago.
Yeah, you park on the street.
You put everybody. That's where you park.
Yeah, well, I would guess that the man lives. It's got to be a man. The man lives.
I'm gonna say you're 100% correct on that.
Yeah. I'm guessing he lives in the building where these cars were parked in front of. Is my just wild guess.
That's ridiculous.
Asshole! He went home and he printed 3.
Right.
Or maybe he went to Kinko's and got like 50 of them just to hand out.
I was just gonna say that. Like, not only did it bugged him enough, he went and he wrote this and he formatted it. He did everything. Like
he pressed caps lock.
Yeah, it's generally well done. Like, it's set properly. Like, he didn't have any
bold. Yeah, I think he used bold print. Looks
Yeah.
like bold. Is that Helvetica? I'm not even sure. That's an angry font even. Like,
Yeah.
Shows it's a bold, all caps, angry font, multiple exclamation points. He gets his point across.
He did all of this, and maybe he's like one of the last people in the world that has a printer in their house. I do happen to have a printer. It never gets used, but maybe he's got a printer in his house. But more than likely he doesn't. He had to take that shit down to Kinko's, get that shit printed off. Like, this man, like they tell you to count to 10 and you won't be angry anymore. Yeah. Fuck. This guy got to like 1 million. Yeah, he was still pissed.
He spent like 43 minutes. He like had to change an ink cartridge. He's like, "Oh, damn it, I'm out of black."
Oh, that's the thing. Even if it's your own printer, it's like shit's expensive. Ink is expensive.
God damn it. Do you have Epson number 693?
He Grubhubbed somebody to go to Kinko's because he didn't want to leave.
I would love to see a short film of a guy coming back. And he comes out and he sees the car's parked and he just gets filled with rage. He's like, "I'm gonna write an angry letter." He goes and he types it up on Google Docs, all caps. You see it all happen, bold. He formats it correctly, puts the proper amount of exclamation points, and then he realizes printer's out of ink, and then he like drives angrily down to the Kinko and down to Staples.
Every time he like starts to settle down, he just looks out his window. Just panicking.
There's no park there.
This is the same. This is the second time in the last 30 days.
I know.
He's out there with his calendar. He's marking it off, putting the license plate number down. Yeah. Oh yeah, motherfucker. Under 30 days. You're getting the bad letter.
Well, anyway, somebody should go on a watch list. That's all I'm saying. I was literally looking at an apartment that's for sale up there. Is a pretty good price. I think I know why the prices are a little bit better up on Arthur Avenue, because you can't park there. You just can't. Like, everybody's like, "Oh man," like block to block. Oh, and the next block over, it's like 250,000. Another block over, it's 275. Arthur Avenue, 168. Nobody can live there. Just the prices are coming down on Arthur.
It's because you have to deal with angry parking man 478 OnlyFans. That's his. His OnlyFans is just him walking around, just getting angry at the way people park and jerking off. It's just
that's part of the short film. All part of the film. It's my dream to make this film now. So, all right. Well, that's the show. I think it is. Oh no! Hashtag chance.
Steve Sure checks in 3 minutes ago. What's up, fellas? Sorry being late to the show. We should be done.
Hawk to you.
Steve, Steve sure is not late to the show. He was hoping that this would be over and he could just watch it all at once and not have to sit through it. Like, he just pause it.
Yeah, no. No, we're
It's
still
like,
going, Steve.
You assholes are still talking. Well, at least I'm going to get my chance in.
All right, here we go. We're picking it. A lot of names coming through here.
All right, let's
Someone's
get
gonna
somebody.
I don't know.
Who's going to win the message of hope and doom?
Corey Furlong. I can hand it to him tomorrow.
There you
Going to
go.
the game.
You can read it to him.
Can read it to him live, and yeah, because he certainly know. I certainly know he can't read my writing. Nobody can.
You know what? Speaking of reading, writing, and all that shit, I dropped a big dump of Cubs poems.
Oh yeah,
I finally got.
You read a few today, and I forgot.
I finally got caught up. They are all out at on Reddit/r/Sunranto. If you want to go out there and find it, or they're in the Patreon Cubs poems. Some of them are interesting.
It would be fun if you made a book of them at the end of the year that we could almost like a scrapbook, and we could put some of those poems in the calendar next year or something like that.
Oh man, yeah, maybe we could. I could maybe match them up with box scores or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Except the only problem with your plan here, Danny, is that this team fucking sucks.
Yeah, nobody wants to.
They're boring. Nobody. We're the only. Oh, well, I guess we're not the only ones talking about them because there's 50 freaking 50 podcasts.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about it, and complaining. So I'd like to thank Bleacher Bunch Productions, which is us, and the Fans First Network, which is not us, but they're the people that carry our show. So they've got lots of great shows from all sorts of sports teams. Maybe they got another show that you might like. Check them out. Fans First Network. That's what we're on. 109 Patreon supporters support us. Blake Beard's Tickets, Rogue Wave Creative, Mike Waller and the Cubs PS Plus podcast, Matt Cameras, Permanent Paintings, and In the Clutch shirts. Find us at all the places. The podcast app, Facebook, X, Insta, TikTok. We got a website, Facebook group, Ranto Show, Ranto Ranters. We have a website. I already said website. Okay, so I'm going to play. And I saw that Robert Sanchez was talking about, are we doing a post show? Maybe. I'm dealing with stuff with my mom right now. She's not doing real well. My wife's over there now, and I'm going to see what's going on because I might have to go up there right now. So.
Yeah, look, I'll make this call for you, Danny. We're not going to do it tonight, but we'll. If nothing, I will get one. Even if Danny can't do it next week, I will do it. I can't do it tonight. Danny needs to go. I'm just going to say no for Danny so that he doesn't have to do it. And then next week, I promise one of us will be over there.
Yeah. No, I love doing the post shows. Unfortunately, we went 2 hours and 40 minutes again because we're freaking idiots. So I'm not even tired, though, either. But yeah, maybe I would go over there tonight. But yeah, you already said no. But if I'm not going over there and my wife's coming home, everything seems cool, I might go over there, but I don't think so. Anyhow, I just want to thank everybody that has supported us this year, even though the season has sucked. I've enjoyed doing these shows regardless, just because we're having fun and it's not all doom and gloom, even though we're losing, whatever. I don't really care because I'm having a good time,
It's so much better to laugh through the pain, right?
It is. And sing through it. So I'm going to play the anthem, and I'd like to bid you all a fine spagog.
Spagog!
Can you please rise and kindly remove your hats as we honor America with the singing of our national anthem presented by Marathon. Here to perform the Star Spangled Banner this evening from the Bleacher Bum Band, please welcome Danny Rocket. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the
were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? It looked bad for the Cubs. We were down 3-1, but this year was our year. Took a long time to come. Took game 5 at Wrigley, headed back to Cleveland, 'cause this year was our year. Took a long time to come. And I won't forget how you came back while rain was falling down. The championship, what Hayward said in the locker room, gave you the strength to play on. Now we're there and we've only just begun, 'cause this year was our year. Took a long time to come. In the top of the 10th, the Cubbies scored 2 runs, 'cause this year was our year. Took a long time to come. No more Billy Goat curses or blaming Bartman, 'cause this year was our year. Took a long time to come. And I won't forget how you came back while rain was falling down. The championship, what Hayward said in the locker room, gave you the strength to play on. Now we're there and we've only just begun, 'cause this year was our year. Took a long time to come. And we've only just begun, 'cause next year is our year. We don't only want one. My, 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 my.
Thank you.